He wanted to ensure that in Gon's final moments, even he would know who had won.
What it is, guys? It's your boy BlastphamousHD. About 2 days after my very first fight, that wasn't me either getting robbed or some chick lying about her actually having a boyfriend and him finding out about me. But today we're here to watch a video that you guys sent to me called TikTokers Who Caught Their Final Moments on Camera, Unfortunately. Let's do this. Chubby goes to Africa? Damn. Here's some gills.
On February 17th of 2021, a little girl by the name Felicia Konashuk would post a message to her TikTok profile.
Damn.
Typically, she would post fun, child-related content to her small following.
Shit. If I'd have known this was gonna be sad, I would have ordered Chick-fil-A.
However, that day, her post couldn't be any more harrowing and serious.
Привет, у меня сейчас жесть история. У нас там сосед, он пьяный. Он, короче, стучится на дверь.
He's knocking on our door, breaking it down.
Он уже несколько
He's been breaking it down for a few minutes now, swearing.
Я просто мне страшно.
I'm scared. Oh no. Not
On a day when her father left to visit the local shops, their neighbor began to knock on the door. Felicia, being alone with their youngest brother, refused to answer. However, the knocks were persistent and aggressive. The only thing she thought to do was to post to TikTok to hopefully spread awareness of the situation and potentially get help if needed.
Oh, hell no. Grab the blicky, young person. Shoot. Shoot him in the gabba. Shoot first. Ask no questions.
Felicia would then go on to say that these knocks continued for over an hour. It should also be noted that maintenance men were working on the home during this interaction. However, they ignored the knocks as they felt it wasn't their business to address a visitor. Why Felicia didn't bring her worries to them, I'm not sure.
Oh. What happened?
Soon, the knocks would stop, and Felicia would get a message from her friend asking if she wanted to go to the park in hopes of feeling safe with fellow company. Relieved, she quickly said yes and waited for her friend. During this time, Felicia's father would arrive home, and after hearing a soft knock on the door, Felicia would answer, only to be greeted in fear by the neighbor.
What? What happened?
In a swift attempt to close the door, Felicia was shot numerous times. Her father quickly ran to his daughter's side, and after screaming at the maintenance worker to call for help, listened to his daughter's final words.
What type of
Dad,
shit?
I have been killed.
Oh.
The neighbor in question was a 33-year-old man named Vasily Donets. According to Felicia's father, the two were typically in good standings. However, recent arguments regarding noise complaints left their relationship tense. This was likely the catalyst for Vasily's torment on the children that day, and the reason for Felicia's demise. This shooting occurred only 15 minutes after she posted her last TikTok.
Dirty motherfucker. Really? You gonna shoot at children? Why would you shoot the children? What did it do?
22-year-old Gan Suzhang lived the dream that many aspire, to be a social media influencer. At first, he simply would document his experiences in different parts of the world, capturing different cultures and fascinating customs. These videos would solely be for his own collection, however this would soon change. His worldwide adventure would be halted once he landed in Africa, not because of any financial or technical issue, but because he fell in love with the continent. He bonded with the locals and found immense joy in immersing himself in their livelihood. He soon found a girlfriend, and after
Oh no, he got killed for some putty cat. Shit!
capturing some videos of the local food, had an idea. What if he posted all these videos to social media?
Yeah.
Gan created a TikTok account called Chubby Goes to Africa, where him and his girlfriend would travel across Africa to try different foods and talk with locals in the area. The idea was an immediate success, and it wasn't long before his account would take off. Soon he built a social media team and enjoyed the lifestyle of traveling across Africa to an audience of about 5 million people.
Damn!
With this type of fame comes those who follow. Some of Gon's fans would become friends and join Gon in his adventure across the continent. They would each develop their own social media following because of this, and for the most part, every team member was more than happy with this sporadic fame.
I know that female.
Except for one. 32-year-old Fang Zhang Yang was a member of this content group. He was friends with everybody, however his personality didn't quite mesh well with the others.
Oh, he
Gon
got jealous.
was typically known to be a very charismatic, comfortable person to be around. Part of this is likely to influence his success.
That's what happened
however,
to me.
Fang was quite the opposite.
Yeah, that's what happened with me.
People have been
They
found
get mad,
noting
yeah.
that interacting with Fang was often awkward, making them uncomfortable when creating content for TikTok. Despite this though, Gon still encouraged Fang to continue. However, as tensions between the group rose, Fang was unfortunately let go. While you might think that this would cause an altercation between the two, Fang was surprisingly understanding. He departed from the group and continued to make content on his own, showing moderate success and traveling across the world in a similar fashion as Gon. Everyone's relationship seemed beautiful. However, it wouldn't be long before tensions would rise once again. According to Fang, when Gon was traveling to China to visit family, he gave Gon roughly $1,500 to purchase him an iPhone, as doing so in Africa was impossible. Gon agreed, however after returning, no iPhone was bought and the money Fang sent him was not returned. There is no confirmation to the legitimacy of this story, however Gon would choose not to address the situation. Fang would continue to make claims against Gon and his team, saying that they sent virus-infested meals to his home and destroyed property that Fang owned.
No, they didn't.
I initially wanted to believe Gon, as there was no evidence to back Fang's claims. However, on a trip to Nepal, Fang's hometown, Gon made a comment saying, "I've come to beat him up."
Oh, shit.
During the trip to Nepal on December 4th of 2022, Gon would go live one last time, where he traveled through the streets of Nepal, unknowing what lurked within the shadows.
后来呀，这货物不是在前面，不要他的来在前面。网红酸奶吗？哪里有网红酸奶？这个好喝吗？我也不知道。就在前面。
Merely a second after this moment, screams can be heard. Fang would sneak up behind Gon and stab him numerous times in the back and stomach. Slain in the middle of Nepal's streets, Fang wouldn't flee the scene, but would instead stay by Gon's dying body and scold him. He wanted to ensure that in Gon's final moments, even he would know who had won.
What?
In the days that followed, Fang would be arrested by the authorities and taken into custody following the murder. Harrison Gilks, a Canadian teenager, got diagnosed with a rare cancer known as rhabdomyosarcoma at only the young age of 16. It wasn't until 2 years later that he would find out his cancer was terminal. However, instead of wasting his final years depressed and alone, he decided to do something inspiring.
I'd like to make a little series called maybe like bucket list series. I'm gonna go out and do a bunch of stuff that I've always wanted to do. You know, I'm not sure what yet. You know, maybe skydiving or, you know, just stuff along those lines.
Harrison posted a TikTok about his cancer and his dreams of completing as many bucket list activities as he could in the little time he had left. This TikTok grew exponentially fast and kickstarted the overwhelming support behind his goal of making his last years some of his best. Thanks to many donations, Harrison quickly began going on many adventures, both on the ground and in the sky. During this time, he would update his fans on his health and even express some encouraging news, stating that the tumors in his lungs and prostate stopped growing.
I also scanned where the big tumor in my prostate stopped growing for now, and the ones in my lungs have only grown a little bit.
He continued to gather more life experiences, and his audience watched the date as Harrison's 18th birthday was approaching. This milestone would be monumental. Harrison was able to see his 18th birthday. However, on October 21st, the day he turned 18, social media heard nothing. People understood that this must be a very special and sensitive moment. However, they began to get a little concerned when no update was posted throughout the following weeks. Harrison pretty much went MIA for an entire month until November 17th, when he returned to TikTok with some unfortunate news.
So the chemo I did all summer, it didn't really work. Tumor kept progressing, and it's gotten a little bigger, and it spread to my hip too.
The cancer wasn't looking good. It was growing and, even worse, spreading. The clock was ticking, and Harrison gave his final push towards his bucket list.
Damn.
In the next 3 months, Harrison would travel all across the globe, enjoying tours of the mountain peaks to the beaches of Cancun. He spent quality time with his family.
Man, it's a whole try not to cry challenge, man. I don't know why I thought this was going to not be sad.
Friends, and even got to meet multiple members of his favorite hockey team. Harrison is one of the purest reminders I've seen to keep your head high and live life to its fullest.
And keep your dick out.
On March 22nd of 2023, Harrison would take to TikTok one last time. This was his final message.
That the ladies can see it.
Chances of me going home, very slim. So I'll be in the hospital for probably the remainder of whatever time I get left.
Damn.
Pray for me and my family. It's been a great ride with you guys on the bucket list. I love you guys. Thank you for all the support throughout everything. Bucket list complete.
Harrison would pass shortly after this.
Really trying to make us cry. It's a good attempt. Let's hope this last one sucks. Not like that. Maybe a little bit like that.
Inquisitor is just as tragic as any other entry in this list. Unlike the others, however, it's not a display of unfortunate circumstance, nor a crossfire between two colliding parties. This is an example of how even the best decisions don't guarantee the best life. Inquisitor was a famous TikToker who cosplayed as the character Ghost from the Call of Duty franchise. In the video game, Ghost is most known for his silent and mysterious persona. However, Inquisitor brought his own character to the man behind the mask. He was easygoing, always positive, and remembered to use his following for good and spread kind messages to those watching.
Why are you so splendid?
Around every edge, Inquisitor just seemed like a good guy. Unfortunately for him, however, he didn't account for the evil that often follows with fame. As his audience grew, Inquisitor decided to hire a female editor to help him develop content to keep up with his newfound success. As content began to get pushed out, Inquisitor would continuously compliment the work. He would always mention how it looked fantastic and would often use the phrase, "I love her." It should be noted that this was said as a friendly gesture, one that he used loose and often with many people. However, in this day and age, Inquisitor should have watched his words a little more carefully. As it turned out, Inquisitor's editor was underage, and saying phrases such as, "I want to marry her," although in context as a compliment towards her editing work, was something that raised suspicion, something that caught up to Inquisitor very quickly. Another TikTok user by the name Tito is Acting Badly released a statement to his large audience of almost 1 million followers that Inquisitor was grooming his girlfriend, the editor that Inquisitor hired. He used out-of-context chat logs and involved the endearing phrases such as "I love you" to spread a rumor that the 17-year-old girl was being groomed by the man in the mask. People quickly turned against Inquisitor, and his brand of a loving and friendly face was now tarnished. In other words, Inquisitor's life as a social media icon was now ruined.
Got him. Don't compliment women, nigga. It only leads to trouble.
Inquisitor would stop posting for several weeks, until October 9th of 2023, where he would change his profile bio to "I want to die." He would then go live a few hours later, where all you could see was a glass door in an empty room. As the live stream continued, rocks would come flying through as Inquisitor's family began to break into his home. No one knew what was going on. However, after the company entered, they began to perform CPR on a body, and at that moment, everybody knew what happened. Inquisitor took his life just off screen from the live stream. After this, evidence began to surface of the master plan that had been in effect for months. Tito, an Inquisitor's editor, were trying to frame Inquisitor of being a predator.
Yeah.
Chat logs were leaked between Inquisitor and his editor that showed the young woman trying to form a relationship with Inquisitor. However, she was declined numerous times.
Yup, same.
At one point, she even lied, stating she wasn't a minor.
Yeah.
However, Inquisitor still asked for her to kindly stop talking to him.
Yeah.
Chat logs between Tito and the editor even leaked, showing proof that they were trying to gather evidence to tarnish Inquisitor's reputation. Every accusation was a lie, and the world found out about it
after he was dead. Yeah.
Inquisitor was a loving friend that shared his personality to the internet. He spread positive messages and advice to anyone who needed it. He was a good person, someone who found himself in the crosshairs of a malicious evil. Although gone too soon, I'm glad the truth came out. As Inquisitor can now be remembered as the great person he was, and not for the predator he wasn't. May everyone on this list rest in peace.
Motherfuckers! I can't stand bitch ass niggas, bro! I can't stand bitch ass niggas! Them niggas ain't shit! Them niggas ain't shit!
This first video was captured in the middle of the night at an apartment complex in Toledo, O. The doorbell footage shows a man knocking on the front door with what looks like a firearm in his waistband.
Damn!
Now, the owner of the apartment didn't recognize the man, so she would question who it was. The unknown man would simply respond with "It's me." The homeowner would then further question his response, but rather than clarifying, he would simply give away through the front door.
Bitch, we ain't Five Nights at Freddy's. It's me. Mother, got a ski mask on and everything. Hey, look out everybody, Slim Jesus robbing houses. Hide the money, y'all. Slim Jesus is coming.
However, it would not be enough to get the homeowner to open it, so you would ultimately walk off. Disturbingly, as he does so, a second man pops up from a nearby dumpster and also walks off.
Oh boy. Yep. Oh, I can't stand smart people. Guess we gotta rob somebody else? Wow!
But this wouldn't be the end of it. The two would then walk around to the back door, where they would attempt to pick its lock. The police were called, and when they arrived, the two were gone. Fortunately, unsuccessful in getting the door open. It's not 100% clear what the 2-minute planned. The almost empty-looking backpack at the first guy suggests they had planned to rob the place.
Oh boy.
But it's also possible they had much worse intentions. The two of them have yet to be identified by police. The homeowner in Texas would wake up one morning to find the gate into his backyard wide open. Curious, the man would review the cameras he had around his house, and this is the sign he was met with.
A clown? Hey, that's playing dirty. That's not playing fair. That ain't playing fair.
A man holding a knife and in a clown costume, complete with the suit and mask, casually walks around the property, looking inside the house and testing all the doors.
Be careful, guys. That guy's there to Diddy. I mean, that guy's there for, you know, he's for that shit. Butt stuff even. Terrible, horrible things. You saw him. Nobody deserves it. There ain't no birthday party for you to dance at. And then when the police got to me, gonna lie, I was just trying to blow. I was showing up to blow up balloons, baby.
This will, of course, take place in 2016, during that sort of killer clown craze that went on for a few months. Looking back, most people that participated in that were most likely just having fun trying to scare people.
Dumbasses, Mike.
But there's no denying that others took advantage of the situation, genuinely attempting some pretty horrific crimes hidden under a clown mask, with this likely being one of those cases. It's clear the person in the costume is actually trying to break into the house with a knife. Though after being unsuccessful, The clown would eventually walk off, and despite a police report, that would be the end of it. Ultimately, the homeowner would be left with nothing but this disturbing footage. This footage was captured in Colorado in the middle of the night. The issue 3 mountain lions appearing from the darkness and starting to walk around a set of houses. They were captured even going as far as to walk up onto the porch of one of the houses.
People now?
Mountain lion sightings are known to be exceptionally rare in this specific area. Typically, they'll stay a lot further in the mountains where they have easier access to the deer that they prey on. To see them in an area with a lot of people, especially in the neighborhood, is not at all common, at least in this area. The 3 cans would eventually walk off, but there are almost no doubt things would have gone differently had one of these homeowners left their pets outside for the night, or possibly were even outside themselves.
Must have been during COVID. Even the animals was
This
jumping
doorbell
people.
camera footage was captured in Overland Park, KS, in March of 2017. Shown in the video is a nearby active house fire. The home of the neighborhood just across the street has been completely engulfed in flames. As the fire department arrives, neighbors can be seen desperately moving their parked cars away from the house.
Not my house. Hope y'all got life alert, nigga.
Eventually, a flinging piece of debris can be seen falling and landing on a set of bushes just in front of the camera.
Damn. Only you can prevent forest fires type shit. Hope they got furniture insurance or homeowners insurance or some type of insurance, you know?
The bushes quickly burst into flames. The fire starts spreading quickly, but before it's able to get out of hand, a neighbor notices it and attempts to put it out. He grabs a garden hose and sprays the fire while pressing the house's doorbell. However, the owner of the house isn't home and frantically tries to communicate this through the doorbell speaker.
Mexican. That's a compliment. Damn. See, now it's a tragedy. Now that my stuff is on fire, now it's bad for us. Now we can't believe this has happened.
In the end, the fire department would be able to put out the house fire and, with help from the neighbors, prevent it from spreading to nearby houses. This video was posted by Doorbell News in September of 2022. This video shows a man knocking on the door at 3 a.m. He pounds on the door multiple times. This guy needs some help, but it's 3 in the morning and he needs to go away. He asks the homeowner to come to the door and talk to him.
Shit, I'd have shot too. Say, no, I'm good, buddy.
Can you come talk to me, please?
Nah, bro, you good.
There was no reply from the homeowner. The guy went into the street and started looking for a lift. Then he comes again and starts pounding on the door. He gets aggressive and starts yelling. The homeowner called the police. I don't know what he was looking for, but it was bizarre behavior.
If he don't leave the porch, we gonna give him some help.
Historical footage was recorded
gonna help
just
the hell out of
before
him.
4:00 a.m. on a night in August 2020. The video captures an unidentified man walking in front of a house and emptying a gas container over the yard and front porch. Shortly after he disappears off-screen, a large fire erupts just in front of the camera.
I thought that was a ghost at first. Oh, damn!
No one would be injured during the incident, however. Unfortunately, 2 houses and a vehicle would be damaged. The homeowner would claim to have no idea who could be responsible or who would even consider doing this to them. At least from an outside perspective, the act looks completely random with seemingly no reason behind it, making the clip all the more unsettling. On a night in September of 2021, a homeowner would get a suspicious knock on his door at about 3 o'clock in the morning. Upon opening his phone and looking at his doorbell camera, he would see two would look like teenagers identifying themselves as CPD or Columbus Police Department.
Really?
CPD, open up. We need to ask you a couple questions.
The video shows the man in the front clearly holding a firearm, and the house sitter would eventually access the doorbell camera speaker to further question him.
Can I help you? CPD, we need to ask you a couple questions. I'm sorry? CPD, we need to ask you a couple questions. May you please step to the front door, please? CPD. Yes, this is CPD. We would like you to step to the door, please.
Oh boy.
Can I see a badge?
Oh boy.
We would like you to step to the door, please, sir. I don't have to show you my badge, sir.
The man refuses to show a badge because, well, obviously, he doesn't have one. The homeowner knew what was going on, so rather than stepping to the door, he would call the real police department and report two armed men at his front door. After a couple of minutes, the two would once again attempt to get the homeowner to open the door. But after that failed, and they would run off before the real police could show up.
CPD, open the door.
Superman is no here.
The two were most likely just looking to rob the man when he opened the door. But I mean, it's possible they had worse intentions in mind. There's just no way of knowing for sure. Both of them were never identified by police. In May of 2018, a woman would leave her parts car that was just outside her house unlocked overnight. Not surprisingly, someone would find the unlocked car and proceed to steal multiple items that were owned by the woman. A few hours later, the man responsible for the theft would be caught on the woman's doorbell camera attempting to use her set of keys that he had just stolen to unlock her house's front door.
Go ahead and her to be wearing her purse and everything. Damn, nigga, you got the earrings to match? Sheesh. Damn.
This all took place while a house owner was home and sleeping, but luckily the set of keys he had stolen didn't have a house key on it, so the guy just ended up walking off. Had the set of keys contained a house key, things most likely would have ended much differently. Shown in this doorbell camera footage is an unknown man wearing an oddly disturbing mask. As he walks up to the door, his emotions alert the camera.
It looked like he broke into the neighborhood cleverly disguised as white people. Works every time.
To start recording. And that's when you can see him grab the door handle, realize it's locked, and hesitantly knock on the door. The man would wait for only a few seconds before he would pull his sleeve over his hand and wipe off his fingerprints from the door handle before walking off. Around a minute later, the homeowner would come to the door and now see the man across the street sitting in a car. When she yelled down to him to see what he wanted, he would quickly speed off. The homeowner would later state that she had no idea who this man could have been or what he was doing there. The fact that he removed his own fingerprints from the door handle suggests that he had most likely given them to the police at some point. It's not completely unreasonable to conclude that this man had some sort of criminal record. Something else of note is that someone's heavy object can be seen weighing down his front pocket. It's not clear what this is, and more importantly, it's not clear who this man is. The mask would ultimately make it impossible for police to identify both the man's identity and his intentions. In July of 2021, Amanda Noack updated her Facebook with an alarming video. She took this video from her Ring doorbell as she set in for sleep. Someone rang her doorbell. She checked the app, only to see a man with gray hair and a full-grown gray beard presently knocking on her door and ringing the bell. Amanda didn't recognize this man, so she ignored the knocking, but the stranger didn't leave. As well as knocking, he kept repeating he wanted to talk to her and had questions for her.
Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you.
What? You're not here.
Are you sure?
Was he pushing Jesus pamphlets?
I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you.
What questions?
Are you sure?
I'm already good with our Lord and Savior.
What? Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you.
Another meth head.
Are you sure? Are you positive? Are you sure? Are you absolutely certain?
When she was home alone, she called her husband to tell him what was happening and called 911. So Amanda's husband accessed the camera from his phone and saw the man. Ignoring him wasn't doing the trick, so he decided to talk to him using the speaker.
Who are you? What? Yeah? Are you sure? Who are you? Hey, I just had a couple questions. I just wanted to ask you about BB. Yeah, can you hear me? What I'm looking for is for the girl that's in the house to come out here because I'm going to take her in. You have her over the door? You're racing the girl that's on the other side of the store and she left me in. I want to race her into her because I have a knife. A gun. Yeah, and I'm going to knock on her door again. All right.
After threatening the woman in a stone-cold tone, he's gone. He doesn't even seem scared off. He just leaves. As the man calmly walks away, he continues to talk to himself down the street. Amanda was terrified, but she feared this man might move to another house and hurt someone. So she took the creepy footage and posted it on Facebook. And it was thanks to this Facebook post that this man was arrested.
Yep. I'm not gonna lie, man. Homie looked like he was fixed in on doing that shit.
A mother of two named Susan Powell recorded a video where she documented the assets in her home in Utah, just in case, in her own words, something happened to her.
This is me, July 29th, 2008. It is 12:33 Mountain Time. Covering all my bases, making sure that if something happens to me or my family or all of us, that our assets are documented.
So you're not gonna pull out your breast.
Hope everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible.
The video was made on her attorney's advice, who feared that Susan's husband Josh might attempt to sell some of her most expensive assets. In the years leading up to the now infamous video's recording, the couple's marriage had been under a lot of strain, and during the recording, Susan lets on that things had been everything but peaceful between her and Josh over the past few years.
This is all stuff bought in a year or less through Home Depot on my credit. Josh bought a lot of stuff and then he had to bankrupt it. And then he bought a little bit more on my credit.
Oh, you ran out of money, okay.
Lamp. These are things to roll wood with. And I had necklaces too. I don't know where those are. I just got in a rage, as you can see, and broke this. There's studs and pearls and opals in there. Broke this and threw all my DVDs and made a mess. Because he was angry at me about a year or two back.
Why was he mad at you?
Although Susan had been seeing a divorce attorney to look into the possibility of leaving her husband, they were still living together in 2009, almost a year and a half after the video was recorded.
AKA divorced him, he's still paying her bills.
On the morning of December 6th of that year, Susan went to church with her 2 boys, after which a neighbor went to visit her, leaving her house at about 5 p.m. That night, Josh allegedly took the couple's 2 boys, Charlie and Braden Powell, on a camping trip in the middle of the night in blizzard conditions to a campsite on the Pony Express Trail. According to Josh, Susan stayed home because she was tired. The story goes that the next day, Susan's family and friends reported her missing when her 2 boys weren't dropped off at daycare. When Josh came back from the supposed camping trip with his sons, he said that when he had left the previous evening, his wife had been sleeping peacefully at home and that he had no idea what could have happened to her. After searching the couple's house in Utah, police found no signs of foul play, but things continued to get stranger as the investigation continued. Inside Susan's safe deposit box at the bank where she worked, the cops found a handwritten will and testament in which Susan alleged that Josh had taken out a $1 million life insurance policy on her a few weeks prior. Disturbingly, she also wrote, "If I die, it may not be an accident." About 10 days after she mysteriously disappeared, the authorities also found that Josh had filed paperwork to withdraw money from a retirement account, and he was officially declared a person of interest in the case. Suspiciously, Susan's family and friends reported that during the search efforts, Josh never seemed to show a genuine interest in finding his wife. But despite the mountain of evidence stacked against him, Josh Powell was never formally charged in his wife's disappearance. During the investigation, the cops questioned the couple's 2 sons, but it was hard to get any solid information out of them on account of their age. Even though they mentioned that Josh had taken Susan with them on their camping trip on the night of the disappearance, they also made outlandish claims, including allegations that they had arrived at the campsite by airplane. This made it impossible to use their statements as evidence that Josh was responsible for his wife's disappearance. Shortly after, Josh and his 2 sons moved back to their home state of Washington, but the authorities soon determined it wasn't safe for Braden and Charlie to be living with their father in the middle of the investigation, and Josh lost custody of the boys. This is where things get extremely disturbing. On February 5th, 2012, more than 2 years after Susan's disappearance, a state caseworker brought the 2 boys to Josh's house for what was supposed to be a supervised visit. Immediately upon their arrival, Josh locked the social worker out of the house and took the lives of both his children and himself by setting the house on fire with gasoline. If his behavior during the initial phases of the investigation was suspicious, the unspeakable crimes Josh committed on that day in 2012 were about as clear of an admission of guilt as you can get in a case like this. In the aftermath of the tragic incident, the cops started looking into Josh's brother and father, who they suspected knew more about the case than they were letting on. Even though they had solid evidence to suggest Michael, Josh's brother, had helped him conceal Susan's body, the case reached a dead end when Michael also took his own life in 2013. More than a decade later, Susan's dad won a lawsuit against Washington State for nearly $100 million on grounds of negligence and failure to protect the 2 children who were supposed to be in the state's custody, a big chunk of which he gave to a charity to support domestic violence survivors. Almost 15 years after her disappearance and murder of her 2 children, people still gather in Susan's hometown of Puyallup, Washington every year to pay their respects and honor her memory. The last video Susan made documenting her assets received a lot more attention after everything had happened. With hindsight, the video is portrayed in a much more disturbing light. Susan saying things like, "I'm recording this just in case anything happens," makes you wonder if she knew her husband could do something this horrible as she was filming. Over the years, Susan's father has been alerted of possible locations where his daughter's remains might be buried, including abandoned mines in Utah and other isolated locations. Sadly, every lead has turned out to be a false alarm, and it's very unlikely that Susan's remains will ever be found. Amber Tuccaro was a 20-year-old Canadian First Nations woman from Fort McMurray, Alberta. In August of 2012, she flew from Alberta to Edmonton International Airport and booked a hotel room with her 1-year-old son and a female friend for a short vacation. That night, she got excited about the trip and decided to hitchhike into the city by herself, after which she was never seen again. When Amber didn't return to the hotel the next day, her friend called her mother, who immediately called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Soon after, Amber was declared a missing person. The authorities dug into her phone records and found that she had received a phone call while she was in the company of an unidentified man. The recording is pretty unsettling, especially since it marked the last time she was ever heard alive.
Where are we by?
We're just heading south of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont.
We're heading north to Beaumont. Yo, where are we going?
Just...
No, this is a... Are you kidding me? You better not taking me anywhere I don't want to go. I want to go into the city. Jeez. Yo, we're not going into the city, are we?
We're going.
No, we're not.
Yes.
Then where are these roads going to?
50th Street.
50th Street. Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Yo, where are we going?
50th Street.
50th Street?
50th Street.
East, right? Just over town.
Bravo.
Bravo.
In the recording, a male driver can be heard reassuring Amber that they're heading where she wants to go, but she doesn't seem to be buying the story and is obviously pretty distressed. On August 28th, the cops released the phone conversation, but they didn't officially start investigating the disappearance until well after a month after Amber was reported missing. Sadly, when Amber's mother pressured the cops to do something and help her find their daughter, they dismissed her and told her that Amber was probably just out partying and would turn up soon. Tragically, on September 1st, 2012, just 4 days after the audio from the eerie conversation was released, the remains of Amber's body were found on a rural property near Leduc County by a group of horseback riders. One of the most frustrating aspects of this case is how unprofessionally the disappearance was handled by the Canadian police. After just 1 month of searching, Amber was taken off missing persons list based on a series of suspicious, unconfirmed, and anonymous sightings in Edmonton, and it took her mother an entire month to get her back on the list. By the time she was put back on the list by the negligent cops who made the unforgivable mistake, her property, which could have been used as evidence, had already been accidentally destroyed after it was recovered from her hotel. Over the years, a few women have come forward claiming to know the identity of the man in the recording, with all of them accusing the same man. The authorities say they've looked into him, but he wasn't declared a person of interest. A few years ago, another man came forward and claimed that the man in the recording was his father, an American citizen with no legal standing in Canada who had been living on a ranch in the greater Edmonton area. If the man's testimony is to be believed, his father is also responsible for several other mysterious disappearances and deaths that have taken place in the area over the last few years. One of the most disturbing aspects in the recording is the audible dishonesty in the man's voice, which is pretty much clear as day when Amber asks if he's sure they're going into the city, and he responds with an extremely fake "absolutely." It's also pretty messed up how the cops handled the case from start to finish, and many people suspect the cause of the unprofessional management of the case was just straight up racism against the Indigenous woman. Hopefully, we'll someday have an explanation for what happened that night to Amber Tuccaro, but for now the case remains a pretty disturbing mystery.
That sucks.
In late 2014, a YouTuber named Kenny Veach commented under the username SnakeBitMcGee on a video titled Area 51 Technician's Son Discloses Secret Alternative Energy. The comment read, "That ain't nothing. I am a long-distance hiker. One time during one of my hikes out by Nellis Air Force Base, I found a hidden cave. The entrance to the cave was shaped like a perfect capital M. I always enter every cave I find, but as I began to enter this particular cave, my whole body began to vibrate. The closer I got to the cave entrance, the worse the vibrating became. Suddenly, I became very scared and hightailed it out of there. That was one of the strangest things that ever happened to me." As you can imagine, Kenny's comment immediately caught a lot of people's attention. Some people called Kenny a liar, while others encouraged him to find the cave again and record his findings. And so he agreed to do just that. On October 18th of that year, Kenny uploaded a video of his long-distance hike in the Nevada desert in which he attempted to find the cave for a second time.
Well, here I am on my hike up here in the mountains north of Las Vegas. This is the this is a canyon I just walked up in. Now you can't tell, but my truck is way out there by the mountains at the very end of this valley.
At the beginning of the video, Kenny stands at the top of an abandoned mine shaft and gives his viewers an introduction into the monstrous hike that lies ahead of him that day. As the day goes on, he continues to record what he sees as he travels through the Mojave Desert trying to locate the cave again.
There's some interesting stuff coming up here. Look, see those? Look at that. Kinda. Right there. That's kinda cool. Alright, I'm gonna turn it off and then I'll turn it back on here. Look at that, that's pretty cool right there. Huh. Alright, off with the camera.
That was the end of the video Kenny posted. Because he failed to find the cave the second time through, a lot of his viewers criticized him pretty brutally, calling him a fraud and pressuring him into trying to find the cave for a third time. In a sea of comments provoking Kenny, a user named Lemmy Killmister made a particularly disturbing and ominous comment that read, "No, do not go back there. If you find that cave entrance, don't go in. You won't get out." Still, on November 10th of that year, Kenny told his family he was going on an overnight hiking trip and he set off by himself for the third time to find the mysterious M Cave in the Mojave Desert, one of the hottest and driest regions in the world. That was the last time he was ever seen. On November 22nd, 2014, 12 days after he set off on his search for the M Cave, a group of search and rescue volunteers found Kenny's phone lying at the top of the same mine shaft he had pointed out in his M Cave video. Unfortunately, after his phone was located, the case went cold, and Kenny's body was never found. After the mysterious disappearance, people started coming up with all sorts of theories to explain what could have happened to Kenny, with most people claiming that he had either fallen down the abandoned mine shaft or died of overexposure. Some of the more outlandish theories reported that Kenny could have witnessed a crime out in the middle of the desert and had to be silenced, or that he found a secret military base and was eliminated by the government. However, a few months after his disappearance, a comment on the original video made by a woman named Sharon Pilgrim shed light on an entirely new possibility, that Kenny had taken his own life. The comment read, "I am the girlfriend that Kenny spoke of in the video. Kenny has not been found, and I feel that he probably will not be found for many, many months, if ever. I want you to know that I do not think Kenny had an accident. I believe he took his life. He battled with depression for many years and would not take medication or see a doctor. He quit his job a little more than a year before he disappeared." In response to his phone being found at the mine shaft, Sharon then added, "The mine shaft was about a 4-hour hike from his car. It is my feeling that he left it behind so that he could not be tracked from the GPS in it. He also did not take his video camera with him on this solo hike. It was left in his home, so he had no intention of filming anything. I am healing from my loss and look forward to new experiences with desert hiking, camping, and taking beautiful pictures of our desert. Enjoy your adventures of life, and thank you for the kind, loving comments sent my way." Even though the woman's comment seems pretty genuine and brings light to the very real possibility that Kenny took his own life, the case still doesn't have a solid conclusion. Over the years, several other YouTubers have found caves in the same area Kenny was hiking in that almost perfectly resemble the letter M, and recently one of them even had a danger restricted area sign put up next to his entrance. So, even though it's possible that Kenny took his own life in the desert, his disappearance has still left more questions than answers.
Comment section got him. Damn.
On September 8, 2015, a man named Tim from Mounds View, Minnesota contacted the police and told them his friend, 32-year-old Henry McCabe, a Liberian immigrant and auditor for the Department of Revenue, had gone missing. As per Tim's testimony, Henry had been at a barbecue hosted by a friend named Emmanuel earlier that day and had left to go to a nightclub at around 11 p.m. After following up with the two acquaintances who had been with Henry at the club on the night of the disappearance, the cops realized they had a pretty complicated case on their hands. According to the two friends who had been with Henry at the C'est La Vie nightclub in Spring Lake that night, Henry had been drinking pretty heavily, and upon leaving the club at around 2 a.m., he allegedly asked William, one of the acquaintances he was with, to drop him off at a gas station nearby. After getting dropped off by William, who thought it was strange that Henry rejected his offer to drop him off at his house instead of a random gas station, Henry called his wife a little after 2:20 a.m. According to his wife, Henry sounded pretty delirious on the call, and near the end of the conversation, she called one of Henry's friends to ask him to go get her husband. Even though the friend didn't answer the call, the last 2 minutes of the conversation between Henry and his wife were recorded by the friend's voicemail, and the content of the conversation is pretty disturbing.
This nigga motorboating a fat woman? He's blowing into some female's anus.
It's almost impossible to make out any of the words in the audio, and the combination of growls, moans, and screams makes it hard to know what to even make of the recording. But needless to say, the voicemail is pretty unsettling. It almost sounds like the screams are coming from someone who's being attacked, but we obviously can't know for sure. That same evening, another acquaintance called Henry
That nigga sounded like he popped a molly and was sweating. Hella hard.
later told police that it sounded as though Henry had gotten into an altercation with someone in the middle of the call. Strangely, even though Corrine McCabe, Henry's wife, mentioned that the sounds her husband was making during the call were extremely out of character for him, who was usually perfectly articulate, she only made a single call to one of Henry's friends to try and get him to pick up her husband, and when she didn't get a response, she went right back to bed. Even more strangely, during her questioning, Corrine repeatedly told the cops that she knew Henry was alive, even though she didn't have the evidence to prove it directly. After this extremely disturbing voicemail was recorded, Henry's phone records show that he called a Texas number that he had called over 20 times that day, but when the cops tried to trace the number, it came up as no longer in service. It's impossible to know if the calls themselves were made by Henry or someone else, but after the unsettling conversation with his wife, phone records show that several calls were made from Henry's phone to that same now disconnected number in the days following his disappearance. As the investigation went on, things continued to get stranger. Suspiciously, the cops never found footage of William's red car pulling up to the gas station where he had supposedly dropped Henry off, even though they checked the entire night's footage from all angles. William later ended up changing his story and alleged that as soon as he dropped Henry off,
I'm gonna go ahead and guess. This dude was boning his wife, so he murdered his friend. I'm just guessing.
he immediately got back in the car and William dropped him off at another gas station a couple of miles away. It was later revealed by a confidential FBI informant that during the searches that took place after the disappearance, Emmanuel, the host of the barbecue, and a group of 3 other men would often stand a few feet away from the rest of the search party and talk suspiciously among themselves. Still, it was never determined if they had anything to do with the disappearance. On October 2nd, almost a month after Henry went missing, a strange anonymous letter was sent to the New Brighton Police Department a few miles from where Henry went missing. The letter read, "Henry McCabe, his body next to water, partially buried. Needs search dog to find. Witness who saw burial scared, female young, asked to come forward. Can remain anonymous and will protect." On November 2nd, the cops found Henry's body in Rush Lake, a few miles from where Henry had supposedly been dropped off on the night of his disappearance. Mysteriously, they didn't find any signs of foul play on his body, even though the anonymous letters suggest he was buried by someone else. Despite the lack of evidence on his body, it's possible that he was either forcibly drowned by a group of assailants, that he took his own life, or that something entirely different took place that night. The only thing we know for sure is that this is an extremely strange case that we'll probably never get a conclusive explanation for. In the summer of 2013, a 26-year-old oil worker from Texas named Brandon Lawson arrived home from work and immediately got into an argument with his long-term girlfriend. Things had been pretty tense between the couple in the days leading up to that evening, as Brandon had frequently been working Monday through Sunday, and the youngest of the couple's 2 children was only a few months old. Also, Brandon had recently relapsed into addiction, which further strained their relationship. It's unclear if his girlfriend kicked him out of the house or if he decided to leave after about an hour of arguing, but whatever the case, Brandon got in his silver Ford F-150 and drove away from his home in San Angelo at midnight on August 8th, after which he was never seen again. The incredibly strange events that took place over the next few hours have turned this case into one of the most mysterious and disturbing disappearances of the decade. About half an hour after leaving his house, Brandon made a phone call to his brother Kyle, letting him know that he was a few miles south of Braun on a stretch of highway in the middle of nowhere and that he was out of gas. After fetching a gas can from Brandon's house, which was about a mile away from his own, Kyle got into his car and prepared to drive to his brother's location. But things didn't exactly go according to plan for Brandon, and a few minutes later at around 12:50 a.m., he made this disturbing call to 911.
911 emergency.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. It's like we're just pushing guys over. Right here going towards Javelin on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. You got to take it to the woods. Please hurry.
Okay, now run that by me.
We're not talking to him. I actually ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
Got the first guy.
Do you need an ambulance?
Yeah, no, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello?
Oh!
Hello?
Oh, they NBA YoungBoy this nigga.
Although it's hard to make out what's going on in the background, many people have alleged that they can hear the sound of gunshots and other people talking in the audio, but it's hard to confirm what exactly was being said and what was even going on during the call. 8 minutes after Brandon's 911 call, another driver called the cops to inform that a silver F-150 had been parked pretty dangerously on the highway with the back of the truck sticking out into the other lane. Following his call to 911, Brandon continued to contact his brother Kyle by phone, and they exchanged a series of strange phone calls. Even though these next calls weren't recorded, according to Kyle, Brandon sounded extremely paranoid, repeatedly claiming that he was being chased out of town by the Mexicans in the neighborhood. When Kyle asked him if he had been using drugs again, Brandon immediately denied it. At around 10 a.m., Kyle arrived at the location where the truck was parked, but Brandon was nowhere to be seen. A few minutes after his brother's arrival, Brandon once again called Kyle and made a series of disturbing statements, claiming that he could see Kyle and the officer that had just arrived at the scene, that he was bleeding, and that they needed to hurry. Disturbingly, he was nowhere in sight. For the next few minutes, Kyle continued to try to get in touch with Brandon, but all his calls went straight to voicemail. After failing to find him that night, the cops launched an official search for Brandon, complete with helicopters, thermal cameras, dogs, and a massive search party.
Damn.
Unfortunately, Brandon was nowhere to be found. It was later revealed that Brandon had cashed out his 401k on the night of his disappearance, suggesting he might have vanished on his own accord. However, due to his distressed phone calls to 911 and his brother, it's also possible that Brandon fell victim to some sort of cartel activity, or that someone he ran into on the road attacked him. In February 2022, a small search party consisting of family members and friends found a pair of shoes and clothing that matched the description of what Brandon was wearing on the night of his disappearance. And after searching the area, the cops found human remains near the location of the shoes and clothing. Even though the remains were sent to be tested more than 2 years ago, there still hasn't been a definitive answer for whether they belong to Brandon or what could have happened to him that night. Hopefully, with time, more conclusive answers will surface to give Brandon's family a sense of much-needed closure. Until then, this will probably remain as one of the most disturbing missing persons cases from recent years.
You know what? That didn't disappoint. That was good. Suspenseful. Scared the crap out of me. Sucks what happened to people. You know what I'm saying? Good Lord.
The ocean has its silent caves, deep, deep, quiet, and alone. Though there be fury on the waves, beneath them there is none. Over the course of the last few weeks of training, I had memorized nearly every facet of the Tuscany, every dial and every readout, every knob and screen and nuance of structure, and the quality of the personal submarine's craftsmanship never ceased to astound me. It was a remarkable feat of engineering, this little beast, designed with such care that even the equipment on the hull could withstand more water pressure than the sea could muster up at any achievable depth. It was my Pegasus, my Trojan horse, my very own Apollo 11, and inside this matrix of layered syntactic foam, I would follow the ballast to the gratuitous and unexplored depths of Higgins Maw. I began the separation sequence, and the deep diver fell from the escort and dipped beneath the surface of the Pacific with silence and grace and a few knots of speed. And then I was consumed in a whole new world, albeit one I'd frequented, that of the sea. Schools of fish swam by me, and when their cloud passed through a sunbeam, it glinted silver, and beneath them swam rays that rolled their wings to the beat of the current, and out in the rocks crawled the crustaceans and sat the plant life that spruced up all the whitewashed stones there like holiday ornaments. But I had an appointment to keep, and the oxygen tank was a demanding clock, so I dove right on past the old reef and out into the open waters where the seabed couldn't be seen for many, many miles yet. The maw, Reuben had said, 50,000 feet below the surface, Booker. 50,000. Do you know what that means? It means it's a whole hell of a lot deeper than the Challenger abyss. He nodded at that. Are you ready to make history? Was I? I thought I was. I'd prepared for this lonely dive and nothing else for some years now. It was the culmination of a lifetime of work and study in the field, and so tight was its grip on my mind that I often dreamt of it in my sleep, of what I'd find at the bottom and what it would mean, and what monstrous things might take offense to my presence there. No. I shoved that thought aside. Tuscany was all the protection I needed in that regard. It offered technology on the bleeding edge in lieu of a heavy hull, and that was enough to withstand enough water pressure to crush bones beneath skin and inches of steel. What animal had jaws more powerful than the ocean itself at fathom? So I hit the thrusters, and down I went, like a bullet to the pitch. I eyed the depth meter as much as I did the sea. 100 feet, 200. Sharks and turtles and uncountable fish swam past me. 300 feet, 500 feet, 700, 1,000, 1,250, the inverse height of the Empire State Building, 1,500, 16. The water began to blur and grain up and darken as the sunlight struggled to push on through. 2,000, 25, 3,000, 32, where the light no longer shines. And soon, all the light I had to glow the path ahead and down were the lights of the Tuscany. I continued the descent for hours. The pressure meter ticked up in spasmodic bursts, but up it went. Up, up, up. Soon ticking past the point where the weight of the sea would have crushed the steel of another vessel. 1 mile down, 1.3, 1.6, where even sperm whales hit their lowest dive. I could now claim with confidence that no mammal on Earth was as deep down at that very moment as myself, and still I dove. 2 miles, 2.1, 2.2. The water was as black as space now, except for where the lights of the Tuscany pierced through it, and the thickness of the fluid made it look like ink or oil or some kind of alien sludge that smeared up against the reinforced windows and slimed its way across the hull. Things were tight down there, despite the vastness of it all. Yet, I still dove. 13,000 feet, the abyssal zone. Pressure stands at 11,000 psi. I saw an angler float by, and it was startled by the sheer volume of light spread by the Tuscany that dwarfed its own bioluminescent glow. It swam away, and I dove further. 15,000 feet. 3 miles. 3.1. Now things get interesting. Mankind had visited these depths almost infrequently enough to count the expeditions on a single pair of hands. I was now ranked among an illustrious few explorers, and although I wasn't the first to hit these marks, I'd hit the deepest one yet before this journey was over. I was determined, and I was capable, so I checked the depth chart. 16,281.4 feet, nearly halfway to the world record. The Tuscany continued to dive. 20,000 feet down, the Hoddle Zone. Pressure here is 1,100 times what it is at the surface. 22,000 feet, 26, 29,000, the height of Mount Everest. 30, 30.5, 31, the same distance from the surface as a commercial airline at the peak of its flight. The Challenger Deep, what had previously been the lowest recorded place on the seabed, sat at roughly 36,000 feet below the surface, in the depths of the Mariana Trench. No light from the sun had ever come close, and to the best accounts, life existed there, but only sparsely, and the pressure is unspeakable. But I was going somewhere vastly deeper, even than that. All we know is we found a canyon, Reuben had said. Dwarfs the Grand, sitting dead center in the Pacific seabed, about 12,000 kilometers west of Hawaii and another 900 south, and near as we can figure, some 50,000 feet straight on down. 36,000 feet. I was now tied for the world record. 50,000 feet? Why the hell are we just now seeing it? 36.5. I did it. My heartbeat swept up to a faster rhythm. I was officially a world record holder. No human being in recorded history had been as deep below the surface as I was at that very moment. New seabed scanning technology helped, gave us a more detailed topographical map of the hydrosphere than we'd ever had before. And once we got back the results, we took a look, and there it was, just waiting for us, inviting us down. 37. So what's down there? 37.3. Hell, Doctor, if we knew that, we wouldn't be sending you, would we? 37.9. I suppose not. 38. 38.5. The awful spirits of the deep hold their communion there. And there are those for whom we weep.
Underwater spirits do church? Is that bad? Word?
The young, the bright, the fair. Higgins Maw, according to the best information available to me at the time of departure, is a pit, roughly a full kilometer across. It begins at approximately 46,000 feet below the surface and is estimated to bottom out at Higgins Deep, a small valley that sits at its base, some 5,000 additional feet below that. The Maw is the largest and deepest such formation in the hydrosphere, and yet its dimensions and location are the only things concretely known about it. That, of course, is where myself and where the Tuscany come in. 43,000 feet down. I hit the floodlights underneath the Tuscany, and the glow washed over an alien landscape that likely hadn't seen light in over 1 billion years. There were mountains here. Mountains. Ones that rivaled the Alps, and wild arches and plateaus that stretched far off to a murky horizon before being shrouded by seawater. I even saw life down here in the depths. A squid-like thing of simply monstrous size swam on by my boat. It stopped for a moment, and during that moment I thought it might have taken offense to me. But after looking hard at the Tuscany and brushing a tentacle down the port side, it swam off in search of other things. Atta girl. I descended further.
It's a woman?
44,000 feet.
Is that
45.
bad?
And then, all of a sudden, there it was. The Maw. My mouth hung by the jaw as the sheer scope of the beast came into view.
They have malls underwater now? Hope they got a movie theater in there, or a place where I could buy funnel cake.
It was a breathtaking sight to behold. A monstrously large and equally dark hole in the crust of the earth that plummeted to inconceivable fathoms. I descended a bit further, 45.5, 46,000 feet, and Tuscany fell into its yawn. Somehow, things were even blacker in the depths of the thing, even though sunlight had long since been blotted out. 46.5, 47, 47.2. I began to become aware of a low current pulling me downward. It wasn't particularly powerful, but it was unexpected, and it was therefore alarming, and yet I couldn't bear to pull myself back up. Not yet. I'll turn around if it gets too bad. So down I went, deeper and deeper and deeper still into the cavern. 48,000 feet, 48.5, 49, 49.1, and then I saw it. A glow. I squinted and dimmed my lights to confirm the intuition. What in the name of God? It was there indeed. A dim reddish purple, then green, then purple again, and then blue, floating on a mist of current some few thousand feet down. I resumed the dive to chase it. 49.5, 49.7, 49.9. The glow, whatever it was getting deeper and wider and brighter. Soon it filled up the whole path down and ahead. I dimmed the Tuscany's underlights to their lowest setting, and by 50,000 feet, I could see that the glow was coming from somewhere not directly beneath me, but off to the left and around a wide corner. This cave isn't a straight pit. And sure enough, the hole bottomed out there, and then opened up to its left. Holy God. It was a cavern chamber, at least a full kilometer up and deep and side to side and across, and only the enormity of its radius maintained the darkness of it, despite the presence of thousands of floating bioluminescent pods that pulsed purple and green and blue and red and dimmed in the interim. I took the Tuscany in deeper, and her cameras whirred to life. Calmly, the wearied seamen rest beneath their own blue sea. The ocean's solitude are blessed, for there is purity. The cavern became darker still when the pods faded into the water behind the ship, but there were more things to be seen here than rocks. Tuscany, about a quarter hour after entering the chamber, soon floated on by a bizarrely rope-like plant of utterly impossible size, one that appeared to stretch nearly across the height of the cave and grew wider at the base, although the bottom of it was shrouded in blackness. I took the submarine in for a closer inspection and hit her lights to their fullest setting. My heartbeat slammed. There were suction cups on it, each one as big as the Tuscany herself, and they writhed and pulsed across and down the length of what was now very clearly a tentacle. In a panic, I shoved Tuscany back and away from the thing, but when I tried to turn her around, the base of the hull collided with the beast and stuck fast to one of the cups. I gunned the thrusters and could hear a wet tearing sound as the machine ripped itself free from the cup's grasp. But then the tentacle came to life. It whipped and whirred and smacked around the cavern and pressed itself to the roof, and then it fell down, deep beyond where the darkness blanketed the floor. Come on, baby. I hit the thrusters again. The Tuscany rocketed off the way it came, through the darkness and off towards the pods, whose glow I hoped would afford me an opportunity to shut the lights off the ship and make my escape. If I were so lucky. But very soon I began to hear and feel the movement of something unspeakably titanic rolling across the floor of the chamber. It rumbled and thundered and shuddered and shook, and soon clouds of dirt and rock flew up out of the black pitch and blanketed the view forward, and I could hear boulders smack against the ceiling of the cave before sinking again to where they'd been. The sound had erupted across the entire breadth of the cave at once. My eardrums nearly burst, and likely would have had it not been for muffling of the explosion provided by the walls of the Tuscany. The submarine shook too, but she held her integrity well enough for me to fly on past the floating pods, some of which were now knocked about on their sides and rolling, and back towards the yawning mouth of the tunnel that would take me back out into the open deep sea. The Tuscany buckled and rolled with an impact. The tentacle, I realized, had shot up from the ground and hit the bottom of the ship between her ballasts, but luckily, it knocked her with force upwards towards the tunnel. I rolled Tuscany with the hit and managed to regain some control, and I boosted the thrusters into the turn and up again, now back into the maw. Then I began to climb. 52,000 feet, 51.5, 51. So, what's down there? Come on, baby. Come on, don't you fail me now. Don't you fucking fail me now. Hell, Doctor, if we knew that, we wouldn't be sending you, would we? 50.5, 50, 49.9, 49.6. Tuscany ascended with panic speed, and all the while she did it, I could feel the rumbling of the tentacle's pursuit in the walls of the pit. It smashed its way on through the tunnel and whipped and thrashed, but Tuscany was too quick a runner. 47.5, 47, 46.8, 46.4, 46,000 feet and climbing high. I suppose not. Tuscany burst out of the maw and was about to rocket straight on back up to the surface, but then the tentacle flew out beside her, nearly smashed in her front window. I bent the controls to the edge of their set casing, and Tuscany tanked to the left and up a bit and missed the ground by inches. I hit the lights again to navigate the labyrinth of rocks as I struggled to remount the climb. But in the light of the ship, I saw it. These weren't rocks after all. They were other ships. Massive vessels, Imperial warships from ages past, bent and crooked and broken at the bottom of the sea, pulled down here by whatever it was that now threw its back to my devouring. The tentacle smashed along behind me. Main masts and battlements and flat decks and rusted iron and wooden boat hulls were splintered up and tossed to the winds of the sea, never again to reconvene. I took Tuscany through this nautical graveyard with far, far too much speed for my safety. Under the ship towers we went, and through cannon mounts, and past the blades of dead engines and around upended rudders. The cacophony of my flight and the destructive paths set by my hunter awoke the life in the place. Fish washed out of holes and cabins and captain's quarters and deep deck stair flights, and soon joined me in my effort to escape. But it seemed there was no escape to be found here. The entire ground for countless miles shook and rumbled with seismic force. It was thunderously loud, and it picked up speed and violence with time. Tuscany finally flew up to miss a splintered crow's nest atop the mast by less than a foot, and finally used that directed momentum to put away distance between the seabed and herself with as many knots of speed as her thrusters would allow without bursting from the effort. The depth charge began to rise. 45.9, 45.2, 45,000 feet, 44.8. Come on, you motherfucker! The water itself seemed to shift with the sound, and then, out of nowhere, Tuscany was no longer the only thing spilling light to the abyss. An orange glow flashed across the sea and for an instant illuminated nearly the entirety of its vastness. Then it blinked, and then flicked on again and stayed active. I shut off Tuscany's lights to preserve every molecule of power for the ascent. 44.2, 44, 43.7. Beside me in the glow, I could make out other creatures retreating too, ones of spectacular size, again, that mankind had never catalogued and that I, sadly, would not have time at all to study. There were city bus-sized manta ray-shaped things wrapped up in clouded wisps of transparent jelly, and even that squid, the size of a building, all flying upwards in a mass panic. I led the charge. 43.1, 42.8, 42.3, 42. I looked behind me and down through the rear window. The maw had moved. God almighty, I was in the Leviathan's throat. I was in its fucking throat. I saw its tentacle tongue lash out of the maw and collect enough fish to feed a small town. Tuscany rocketed ever upwards as the Leviathan whipped even larger tentacles behind it and gained speed with the force of a hurricane. The Leviathan opened its maw yet again and spewed forth its tentacle tongue, and with it, it whipped up several Olympic swimming pools worth of water into a gale force maelstrom. The mammoth squid was caught in its fury, I saw, and then it vanished into the pit forever when the maw snapped shut with a thunderous, echoing snap. The Tuscany, meanwhile, continued to rocket upwards and managed to escape the whirlpool by a foot. 39.5, 39, 38.7, 38.2, 38,000 feet and climbing. But the Leviathan pursued me relentlessly, riding on the flood of its own current. Its tentacles, each dozens of feet across and a mile long, beat the water back and tried to gain speed for their host. 37.5, 37, 36.4. Tuscany had proved her worth with speed, and the pressure gauge now fell in jumps. It remained in the red and would for some time, but it was falling steadily, even as the depth charge rose. 29,000 feet, 28.3, 27.5. But the Leviathan hadn't given up the chase, not yet. I could feel it doubting its efforts. The displaced water rocked the Tuscany, and she buckled and rolled in the synthetic current. Then I heard the maw open up behind me, and water began to whip and swirl itself into a frenzy by the ocean load. I punched the thrusters to the breaking point. Come on! The encasing syntactic foam was pressed to its limits. The reinforced glass began to chip ever so very slightly, but the chips broke into cracks, and then those cracks began to crawl across the width of the windows. I checked the gauges. 20,000 feet. 19.8. 19.4. 19.3. The ascent was slowing. Come on, baby. Come on. Please, God. Be with me now. Be with... In the orange glow of the Leviathan's eyes, I could see how quickly the water was slipping by Tuscany and getting swept up into the maelstrom. The submarine began to sway port to starboard and shudder and shake. 17.4, 17,000, 16.9, 16.3, 16.1, 16,000. I watched the gauge with a nauseating desperation. 15.95, 15.92. I could feel her slowing to a crawl. Come on. 15.925, 15.94, 15.96. And that was it. Tuscany was caught, and no sooner did the depth charge begin to slip than did I feel the whole submarine lose all sense of control and tumble backwards and around. I was thrown out of my seat and smacked my nose against the roof of the pilot sphere. Blood exploded, and it drenched my shirt and sprayed the glass in the entirety of the control set. I grabbed my face and began to apply pressure to slow the blood loss, but Tuscany again flipped ballast over ballast to starboard in the whirlwind and spilled me into the hatch ladder. I felt my shoulder dislocate and my kneecap smack into the bottom rung. My head swam, and still Tuscany tumbled backwards. The cracks on the window spread faster. 16.3, 16.4. I could smell the inside of the maw through the hull of the ship. But then, all at once and not a moment too soon, I got an idea. It wasn't a particularly good one, but hell if it wasn't better than nothing. I managed to limp and tumble my way to the controls and grip the handles as the ship rolled. Wait for it. Now! The sound of the roar was so close, every last control surface in the sphere rattled in its case. My eardrums rattled too, but then I flared up the thrusters again, full blast and at an angle. And the Tuscany shuddered and flipped and shook and, with fortune, fell straight out of the maelstrom with inches to spare. I felt the edge of the Leviathan's maw graze the starboard side, and the impact again sent me into the roof while the ship rolled end over end over end again. I smacked my ribs up on a dip in the alcove and fell back down into the seat, head first, and then out onto the floor. I managed to right myself with my good arm and get my bearings. I was free, but only just. The Tuscany banked and tumbled again and rolled, slower now in the absence of the whirlpool's flood current, but not yet in control of its pull. I tried to steer away, but it was hopeless. The ship flipped around the back of the Leviathan's titanic maw and up over its head as the beast flew on by underneath me like a freight train. And for the first time since catching the monster's eye, I began to fully appreciate the magnitude of its size. Its back was an endless, snake-like and sharp-finned spine the size of a minor mountain range. And only quick maneuvering moved Tuscany away from the jagged back fins that chugged up towards me and sliced up in the sea itself. They missed me by feet, and the blast of the current they'd swept up sent the submarine reeling backwards, off a bit further and into relative safety. I quickly dimmed the lights to their lowest setting and caught my breath as the full form of the Leviathan washed on past me. It stretched far away into the abyss below for well over a mile, and dragging away behind it were thousands upon thousands of tentacles, a forest of the things, each the size of a 6-lane highway and tipped with razor-sharp hooks and a flurry of wing fins. It took a full 3 minutes for the beast to pass by me fully, and then it curved around in the other direction and swam off in search of other things to devour. The form soon slipped away into a shadow, and then it was gone. I surfaced hours later, having allowed the battered Tuscany to take its time with the journey. She was solely responsible for my escape. My quick thinking be damned. A marvel of engineering indeed. Once I did break the surface, I dispersed a distress beacon and then promptly collapsed from exhaustion. Evidently, I was picked up by the Coast Guard some hours later, a few hundred miles southwest of Hawaii, and pulled from the near wreckage of my submarine and taken to a hospital on the mainland. It was there that I woke up a full day later. As I recovered, I heard some isolated chatter of tremendous seismic activity near where I'd been, and how the whole ocean floor had changed and moved and shifted form. But I couldn't care less. I told the bastards what I knew, and on top of that, they have the Tuscany, and they have all the recorded evidence. And you now know this recorded account. What everyone does with this information is entirely up to them. All I know is that I won't be doing any more diving anytime soon. I've come to the realization that mankind has more than enough space to expand throughout and live upon and thrive in above and near the surface and on land and in the skies and soon, hopefully, out there amongst the stars. But there are things in the sea that hold ownership of the deep, and perhaps it's best to leave it that way, for all our sake. The earth has guilt, the earth has care. Unquiet are its graves, but peaceful sleep is ever there, beneath the dark blue waves. The USS District of Columbia deployed its cargo, a two-man Eisenhower-class Navy stealth sub called Agincourt, on which I served as navigator alongside Engineer Lovell, and once it was loose, it slipped away into the Pacific and began to part with its escort. The sea was in shambles here. There were dead fish and splintered boat hulls floating in the current, but it was far from unexpected. It was recently estimated, in fact, that since that Leviathan awoke some months ago, it has critically disrupted over 400 trillion cubic tons of water and all the life therein, and was becoming a potential threat to shipping lanes as well as naval operations. It has been classified for these reasons and others as a severe national security threat, and so the Navy built the Agincourt on Tuscany's blueprints and selected Lovell and myself to man it, and then instructed the pair of us to hunt down the Leviathan and lure it up from the deep so District of Columbia could move in for a swift kill without exposing herself in the chase. For some hours after we entered the sea, there was little else but quiet there, and the hulking mass of the District of Columbia as it followed. But then even that faded into the seawater, and when it did, Lovell and I found ourselves alone in the midst of the ocean. He descended the hatch ladder from the operations center and joined me for a moment in the sphere. "So, Lautner, you're the nav. How do you plan on finding this thing in the middle of the ocean?" I said back, "I'm already tracking it. You see that?" I pointed up at a corridor of seawater that was moving north and that carried on for miles. We'd been following it for some time. Lovell pursed his lips. "Didn't realize there was a draft that big out here." "There wasn't," I said, "until earlier this morning. That Leviathan swam on down this way a few hours ago, and it left this as a little present for the two of us." "Well then, we'll be sure to thank it. How much longer before we see the damn thing?" "Not long. Look at those fish." I nodded towards a school of the things. "You ever see anything like that?" He shook his head. "They look panicked. And they're swimming towards us for a reason. Closer we get, more we'll see. Just wait." And we did. What started as an isolated school of fish soon became several, and then the nautical retreat boiled over in scale and number into a mammoth, seething cloud of life, all whirled up into a frenzy and pushing desperately south against the riptide, like birds from a storm cloud or the onset of winter. The two of us said not a word until the crowd broke. The Agincourt again found itself floating in the open and quiet sea, and then I brought Agincourt to a full stop, and Lovell said, "Holy God." Ahead of us, and not more than 2 miles off, was a titanic mass of shadow, unmoving, and so breathtakingly huge that not even all of its edges could be fully seen. It was the Leviathan. Blue whales and dinosaurs themselves paled in comparison to this monstrous, mountainous thing. And as Lovell and I sat and stared at it, it made its first move, a turn away into the depths behind it, followed by a sharp dive. In doing so, of course, the silhouette of its full form came into view, and the sight of it stole the breath right from our lungs. We couldn't have said a word at that moment, even if we'd known the words to say. We simply stared out at the thing and did our unworthy best to appreciate the magnitude of its vastness. It was as long as they'd said it was. An enormous, slithering serpent thing whose tail broke into 1,000 other tails that drifted and curled and dragged lazily behind it and fell deep away into the blackness. But seeing it in person was altogether a new experience. Before saying another word to me, Lovell hopped back to the ladder and climbed up to the operations room.
Agincourt to District of Columbia.
I heard him say,
This is Lieutenant Lovell. We've located the Leviathan. 33.934 by negative 153.4570. We're giving chase, but it's moving fast, and it's moving down. Look to the riptide. Advise the district follow our mark, but stand by to engage until we've brought it back up to you.
I gunned the thrusters as he spoke, and followed the slipping shadow away and into the deep. 12 knots of speed. 12.2. 12.4. Agincourt crawled, and then cruised, and then ran with all haste in pursuit of a monster. Lovell came down the hatch ladder a few minutes later.
District is en route. Making speed? She's moving, but she's not coming out in the open till we've got this fucker where she wants it. Any idea on that front?
A moment passed before I said,
You seen the footage from the Tuscany?
Bits and pieces, yeah.
Well, the pilot caught the Leviathan's attention, and it chased him straight up to the surface.
But he made it, didn't he?
Yeah, by the skin of his teeth, from what I hear. Gave up deep diving altogether.
What's your point?
The point is, Agincourt's faster than the Tuscany. If we can get the thing to chase us, we can outrun it, and then get District on its flank. Couple of torpedoes to her side, and boom, we have ourselves a 300,000-ton museum piece.
There was another pause, and then Lovell broke it with the worst question of all.
And what if District can't put a dent in that thing? You saw how big it is. Well then, I suppose we'll need to find another ride home.
The Agincourt filled up her ballast and followed the Leviathan down into the depths of the Pacific, past where the water stopped the sunbeams at the gate, and before long, all that could be seen was nothing at all. From that point forward, it was the boat's humble capacity for sonar that kept us moving in the right direction, with an occasional nudge from the monster's own flood current. Lovell broke a long silence.
What's the plan? At the moment, I'm just trying to get the damn thing's attention. The closer we are to District when it notices us, the better. But as it stands, we're getting in too deep. Way too deep.
And we were. By the depth chart, we just passed 15,000 feet, and we needed to get things turned around.
Go ahead and strap yourself in.
He did, in the passenger chair behind me, and then I hit the front lights and gunned the thrusters.
What the hell are you doing? Like I said, I'm getting its attention.
But then I stopped, and I eased back on the thrusters. The lights of the Agincourt spilled their glow to the whole of the abyss, and they found it empty.
Where the hell did it go?
I dialed up the brightness of the lights and brought the boat to a full stop.
I don't know.
We scanned the water for hints of movement or shadow, but there was no movement, and there was nothing but shadow and silence. I moved Agincourt from a rest to a light cruising speed, and her searchlights swept and swooped and cast themselves to the rocks.
Nothing. Damn. Unless...
I hit the lights off.
Now what? What is it? There's no way in hell something that big just disappeared. So where did it go?
I blew the ballast and adjusted Agincourt's heading for the surface, and then I gunned the thrusters harder than ever.
It didn't go anywhere. It knew we were here all along. It just dragged us down into the dark to shake our tail. What? A thing that size is afraid of being hunted? It's not being hunted. We are. Agincourt lifted herself up through the water with as much speed as she could muster up for the running, but time was against us. Up ahead, we saw the shadow of a titan moving fast to block off our escape. It was the difference in shade between deep twilight and midnight black. We gotta move, I said. See if you can't raise the district. Lovell unbuckled his seatbelt and flew to the hatch ladder and climbed it in 2 rungs at a time. And not a moment later, I heard the static of the radio as he lifted a hail. Hello? Hello? District of Columbia, this is Agincourt. Do you read me? Over. Static, even audible in the pilot sphere. The sheer bulk of the Leviathan was blocking the signal. Keep trying to raise the escort. I'm gonna get out from under this thing and clear the way. Hello? Hello, District of Columbia. This is Lieutenant Lovell of the Agincourt. Can you read me? Over. The Agincourt banked hard over to her starboard flank, and I allotted her all speed for the escape. 17 knots flat, 17.3, 17.5, 17.7. I looked up. The Leviathan shadow bathed the whole of the seabed in its mass. Still, we ran. Hello, hello! District of Columbia, this is the USS Agincourt. Can you hear me? Over. More static. 19 knots, 19.2, 19.4. The Agincourt was moving faster than most vessels already, and yet the shadow above us had not struggled at all to keep us within perimeter. So big was its source. 21 knots. District of Columbia, this is Agincourt. Can you read me? Over. Respond. Still nothing. 21.9, 21.2. I looked up. The shadow was murky and ill-defined, but I could make out the monstrous alien forest of its mighty tentacles, which wrapped and curled and spread out on all directions in the absence of movement. It looked like a black star seen through a bent lens of time, but it was slipping back behind us. Agincourt was more than a match for speed. 23.5. Hello, District of Columbia. This is Lieutenant Lovell of the Agincourt. Can you read? Still, I heard static, but there were bursts of clearer sound too, just barely over the threshold of audibility. We were getting into the clear and quickly. 25 knots, 25.3, almost too quickly. Hello, District of Columbia, this is Agincourt. Do you read? Over. Can you hear me? I looked up and back over my shoulder. 25.8, 25.9, 26 knots. Fuck. The Leviathan wasn't pursuing us after all. It was moving back up. I fired up all of Agincourt's lights and thrusters and blew her ballast. We began to climb. Lovell! What is it? Any luck on the radio? None yet. Why? Leviathan's not moving after us. It's going up. Good. District will hit it when it gets close then. It's not gonna get close. It's gonna come up right underneath the boat. Sub won't be able to use its armament at that range. There was a pause. 23 knots now. We lost speed when we moved up. 23.1. Oh my god, move, goddammit, move! Get us up there! Just keep trying to raise the ship. 25.4 knots, 25.7. The massive shadow of the Leviathan was moving up into the brighter waters, and I could see its tentacles falling into line as it gained speed. Agincourt continued her climb, and gradually, as she did, the waters began to brighten. The pressure gauge began to fall, and the Leviathan, now swimming fast far above and to the left of us, came closer into view. Only then did I understand fully. District of Columbia stood no chance. Even in an unfair fight, this beast was unstoppable. Hello? Hello? District of Columbia, this is Agincourt. Can you read me? Over. Respond! 1,500 feet to the escort's test depth. Hello? Agincourt? It's District of Columbia here. Reading. Over. We're moving. Listen to me, Lovell said. Listen to me. Ensign, we're telling you we do not have the Leviathan in tow. I repeat, we do not have the Leviathan in tow. It got between us and is heading for the coordinates I listed earlier. If you're there, you need to fall back immediately. Do you copy? Leave now. 1,000 feet. 800. 750. Breaking up. The coordinates listed. Tie 3.4 by -150. 0.45 ending by package. Wait! District of Columbia, do you copy? This is Lieutenant Lovell of the USS Agincourt. Are you there? Do you My heartbeat kicked up into my throat. I knew that sound. The roar of the Leviathan from the Tuscany tapes. Clearly, the beast had exhausted its usefulness for stealth, and that could only mean a single thing. Damn it. Lovell joined me in the pilot sphere. Jesus, what the hell was that? We're too late. That's what it was. We're too fucking late. And we were. Although Agincourt's current speed swept us in closer before I pulled it to a full stop. It was a stop with a view, though. A helpless and terrible view. We saw the mountainous back of the Leviathan, and its great maw covered with the shield wall of its writhing tentacles, absorbing a series of torpedo charges from the escort sub. It discharged a flurry of Mark 48s from the pods. Those torpedoes left on rockets and detonated in waves. And for a fleeting moment, I thought it might be enough, if properly targeted, to turn back the Leviathan or wound the damn thing or something. But the beast took the hits and only crawled forward. And before long, the sub only had its ballistic arsenal. Nothing appropriate for a fight like this. It began to throw its whole effort to a retreat, but an Ohio class is a hulking mammoth. 2 football fields in length and nearly 19,000 long tons of metal and rivets. It is fast, but not fast enough. The District of Columbia was doomed. Try to raise the Dixon bubble, I said, and my voice trembled when I did. District is dust. As I said it, the final torpedo in the Columbia's armament cache was launched. It sped through the water and trailed a skipping, sputtering wake and hit a tentacle and exploded tremendously but fruitlessly upon it. And then after a moment of silence, the Leviathan unraveled itself and its tentacles blocked out the last of the sunbeams at dusk, and they swirled and curled and wrapped their vastness around the hulk of the district, and then the vessel was gone. God damn it. I pulled Agincourt away from the feasting with all speed. 20 knots, 20.1, 20.4. Hello, USS Dixon, do you read? This is Lieutenant Lovell of the Agincourt. Respond. Over. 22 knots. Hello, Dixon. This is the USS Agincourt. Over. Requesting a pickup. Do you read? Over. 23. I felt a rumbling and a shaking and a mighty displacement in the water behind us. Agincourt buckled and rolled. I looked behind me. 23.5. 23.6. The Leviathan had finished its meal and was turning around. Its tentacles alone forced a flood of riptide, and then, God almighty, there it was. The maw. It was big, hideously, monstrously, impossibly big. A yawning canyon and a mouth all the same. What the hell is this thing? 24.1 knots of speed. 24.6. The Leviathan opened its eyes, and Agincourt was suddenly awash in an orange glow. Lovell! Hold on, Dixon. What? 26 knots. Cancel pickup. What? Why? 26.3. It sees us. Tell Dixon to get itself to safety. We'll try to shake this thing and rendezvous. 26.8. 27. Dixon, do you copy? Over. Loud and clear, Agincourt. 27.5. The Leviathan's tentacles flew into form behind it as it gave chase. 27.7. Listen to me. We are currently heading northwest with all speed. The USS District of Columbia has been destroyed. 27.9. I'm sorry, say again? Over? The Columbia is gone. Affirmative. The Leviathan destroyed the USS District of Columbia. We are now... I gunned Agincourt's thrusters for all they were worth. They groaned and protested, but they did their best, if only just. 30 knots. 30.2. 30.3. Even if the ocean itself seemed to be draining into the thing's mouth by the lake load. Come on, baby, come on, come on. Agincourt, this is the Dixon Actual. Confirm the destruction of the District of Columbia. Over. 32 knots. Yes, sir. The Leviathan took everything District had to throw at it, sir, and then it just ate the ship. 32.5. 32.9. We've located your beacon, Agincourt. The destroyer group is moving it to rescue and engage. My heart stopped. 23 knots. Lovell! I know! Dixon, are you there? Captain Gildersleeve, do not engage, sir. Do not engage. I promise you, sir, there is nothing short of a fucking nuke that can stop this thing. Get that destroyer group to safety, and we will meet you there. Negative, Agincourt. You brought this thing into the open. We'll handle it from here. Gildersleeve out.
34 knots and climbing.
Dixon, respond. Over.
Agincourt flew admirably, but from the sound and from its own effort, it rumbled and it shook and it swam against the might of the current. 34-7, 35. The Leviathan was gaining, whether that meant it was moving swift or simply dragging the sea itself to its yawn was unclear and irrelevant. All I knew and all I cared about was that Agincourt was failing, despite a mighty effort, to put distance between herself and her hunter. It was a race against time and all the odds, and it was a race we were losing. 36 knots, 36-1. Every dial and needle and stick and lever rattled in their sets, and my eardrums shook, and upstairs I could hear Lovell screaming in range and pounding the side of the control desk with a wrench. 37 knots, 37-3. The closer the Leviathan got, the more speed we needed just to keep ourselves alive. It was like being caught by the pull of gravity on the edge of an event horizon. One wrong move, a simple mistake, would doom us. I began to see the shadow of the maw creep over the ship. Agincourt was nearly at capacity now. 39 knots, and it wasn't enough.
Agincourt to Dixon! Agincourt to Dixon! Do not engage! I repeat...
Lovell paused when he heard the static. Once again, the mass of the Leviathan blocked our signal, and there was nothing we could do to stop it. The water rushed into the maw, and Agincourt went with it, tumbling helplessly and desperately, and with its thrusters flaring with all their strength of arms and all their force.
Lautner,
he said,
are we?
The force of the explosion, from an anti-submarine ship-to-ship missile undoubtedly, expanded through the sea and seemed to set the whole ocean ablaze. The Dixon had arrived. Yet another explosion went off, and it shook our ship to the core, and the Leviathan rerouted its course for the surface with a demonic speed. Behind us, by not more than a few hundred feet, we felt its mass as it moved. Undersea waves were unleashed that enveloped and consumed the Agincourt and sent her tumbling ballast to ballast and left her nearly belly up in the water before she rolled around again. The explosions were getting closer.
Lovell, don't they know we're down here? I don't know. They might have lost our beacon with the radio signal. What does that mean? It means they think we're fucking dead. Can you try to raise them again? I don't know. I'll...
There was a mighty flash of light, and then... The force of the latest depth bomb washed through the sea and through Agincourt's battered hull and into her cabin. It sent me reeling despite my restraints. My ears rang and reported back nothing but that ringing, and the ship buckled and tumbled and groaned and shuddered and shook, and the lights flickered and the alarms blared and the panels flashed red. I unbuckled myself from the toppled chair and rose to my feet, shakily, and stumbled over to the controls. The explosions were no further off than before the last one, but my ears struggled now to report them properly. Everything was muffled, everything swam. My head, my vision. I fumbled at the controls and found half unresponsive and others blaring.
Lovell!
I heard myself shout.
Lovell, can you raise the Dixon?
I kept fumbling over the controls. Dials and readouts and panels were in their off state. I tried boosting the thrusters, but heard only the clicking of the control in its set.
Lovell, you there?
I could hear my own heart more so than the battle.
Lovell?
And gradually the shock began to fade, and when it did, it gave way to something worse. Fear.
Lovell!
I ran from the control set to the hatch ladder and looked up. A droplet of water hit me in the eye, then another and another. I started to climb. As my hand hit the top rung, it slipped on fluid, but I grabbed it tighter and pulled myself into the operations center below the hatch.
Lovell?
There was no response. Of course there was no response. Lovell was sitting in an unnatural angle against the far wall, and his eyes were still and shut, and a bit of blood pooled from his right ear and down onto his shoulder, where it was washed away by a steady trickle of seawater from the bent hatch that became a stream, that became several. The lights flickered again. I reached my friend and knelt down next to him in the water.
Lovell, hey buddy, hey, can you hear me?
I heard naught but the slightest, quietest whimper, but it was drowned out by another sound quickly. the roar of the beast. And then one far more ominous even than that. I heard rushing water from down below. When I looked over the edge, I saw the ocean inside the pilot sphere. It was rising up to meet me, but I could only see it from a sunbeam that struck through the hatch. I grabbed a wrench. Lovell, we're at the surface. I can see the sun. It's right there, buddy. That's home. Just sit tight, okay? I climbed the 2 more rungs on the ladder and swung at the hatch with a wrench. It bent up ever so slightly. I swung again. An inch of progress. The water crested the threshold of the operations room. Lovell whimpered. Hang in there, buddy, okay? I swung again. The lights shut off for a final time. Agincourt tumbled and groaned as she died. Come on, please, Jesus, please, God. The hatch began to bend a bit more. The sunlight brightened, and the water from below now had reached the midpoint of Lovell's upturned service boots. I felt a release. Got it! I had forced a hole in the hatch big enough to put a hand through, but then water dumped inside at twice the rate of the surge from below. I turned my head and slid down the ladder and stumbled back as it began to pool up. What the? Then I looked up through the hole, and only once I did I realize the mistake. We weren't at the surface. We were merely close to it. Not more than 100 feet away, but many, many feet too far. Water flooded the operation room from both ends and washed me up against the wall next to Lovell. The ocean threw itself to our beating, and it pounded us in waves and torrents and buckets. I couldn't breathe for seconds at a time, but I grabbed Lovell's hand, and he squeezed it with all the strength he could, just enough to bend his fingers around the side of my palm. And then we began to float up to the ceiling. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm really, really sorry. I tried. I heard no more explosions from the battle not far off, just the triumphant roar of the Leviathan and the rush of water and my own ragged, heavy shaking breaths. I pressed my lips to the ceiling and sucked in all the air that was there to breathe, and I could feel Lovell slip beneath the surface, and the water tightened up around my chest, and then it was over my face. Then a shadow fell over the hulking bones of the Agincourt's hull, and I felt a slamming impact and a rush, and then... They're inside. I opened my eyes up. They hurt. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know when it was. I knew nothing at all, in fact, but I heard footsteps and saw a shadow, and then I felt something grab my shoulders and hoist me up. A bucket's worth of seawater fell from my shirt and hair and face. What? You're okay. You're okay, Lieutenant Lautner, was it? Hey, come here, it's okay. We're gonna get you out of here, okay? Ensign, tell him we got a survivor. Yes, sir. I don't know. It's okay. Lovell. What's that? Lovell, is he, I don't remember. I can't. I started crying in pitiful, racking, heavy, messy sobs. Hey, it's okay. Can someone help me out here? And then I started to slip. Hey, I'm losing him. And then everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed. For more than a day, I was delirious, but once I came to, I was filled in as I, in turn, was able to recall my story for a report. From what I was told, the following had happened. The Dixon had been destroyed, lost with all hands, along with its escorts and, of course, the District of Columbia. All told, the Navy lost more than 700 good men in the operation. Among them was a lieutenant named David Scott Lovell, in the deadliest day in the history of the Navy at peacetime. But I learned something else as well, based on the important mark alongside Agincourt's wrecked hull. It is evident that after feasting on the Dixon, the Leviathan hit Agincourt and knocked her clear to the surface, where another ship, the Arleigh Burke destroyer, found her rolling in the surface with a broken hatch. The Navy will undoubtedly make an effort to cover up this story and explain away their losses as a disastrous training failure, but I'll have no part of that, nor any further efforts to hunt down that Leviathan. No, this story needs to be told, for those men lost, and for Lovell, surely, and for you. Like the pilot of the Tuscany before me, I've accepted the fact that the thing down there should not be disturbed, and neither should its home. For the love of God himself, do not venture far into the deep, deep pit of the wild Pacific. For all our sakes.
Yeah, don't venture into the deep of any ocean, honestly. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. That way, you don't do what they did.
Hey, so, Colin, is that your first name? Yes. Hey, so, do you know Anna?
Yes.
Last name's Wilson.
Oh, no.
Yes, I do.
What?
So, there's really no easy way to say this.
Word?
So, apparently last night she passed away.
Really?
This is Colin Strickland, and he was just told that his ex-girlfriend, Anna Wilson, was brutally murdered only hours ago.
Oh.
Austin 911, what's your emergency?
My friend is staying with me, and I just walked in, and she's laying on the bathroom floor, and there's blood everywhere.
Austin, please!
Hey. Do I stop? I don't know what happened. I just walked in on her.
When cops first arrived at this gruesome site, they suspected a robbery gone wrong. But a series of damning clues found at the crime scene quickly pointed to not just a meticulously planned murder, but a deadly love triangle. And a killer that was closer to home than anyone expected.
Dun dun dun!
Did you kill Mo?
No. You look like you acting like you did. You so acting like you did. Would you turn
On May
up?
11th, 2022, police were called to an address after a woman made this disturbing 911 call.
What's the address of the emergency?
It's 1708 Maple Avenue.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
My friend is staying with me, and I just walked in, and she's laying on the bathroom floor, and there's blood everywhere, and I don't know what happened.
Is she awake?
She's not awake. There's blood all over her face and all on the back of her head.
Is she breathing?
No, she's not breathing.
I've got the paramedics on the way to help you. Stay on the line, Caitlin.
That caller was Caitlin Cash, and she'd arrived home to find her friend, Mariah Wilson, clinging to life after being shot.
Austin, please!
Wait. Do I stop? I don't know what happened. I just walked in on her.
Sit up. Okay.
One second. Let her get up.
Yeah, over here.
Okay, I'll let you go so you can talk to them, okay?
Yeah, I had Nobody heard any shots? We don't know how long she's been down? No. And that's pretty close to it. Yeah, oh, we got CSF in there.
After assessing the situation, officers noticed cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF for short, oozing onto the floor. This fluid surrounds the brain, meaning the bullets had actually pierced her skull and killed her instantly. This meant there was no saving her, no matter what anyone did. But officers could still bring her killer to justice, which is why they need answers right now. Answers that only Cash can give, as she is the only witness that officers currently have.
Do you know if he's talking to anyone or any friends? I know you say you don't live here.
Yeah, no, she was with her friend Colin.
Colin?
Yeah.
Colin's last name?
Colin Strickland.
Colin Strickland?
Strickland, yeah. Yeah. They went swimming.
Okay.
Did you see a gun or anything like that when you were
Colin? You said Colin Strickland. Strickland? Okay. Yeah. And you know where Colin Strickland is? No, but I have his phone number. I can call him. Or I can give you his phone number. Information from you. You said, so she went swimming with Colin Strickland?
Went swimming. I left to go have dinner with my friends, and then I came back. Yeah, this is my house. That's your house. This is my house. She's staying with me.
Right now, police are a bit disoriented as to what exactly went down just hours earlier, but they would soon run into some evidence that would change everything. Worth noting is that situations like these can be extremely traumatizing for those involved.
Yeah.
But that's also the case for people watching these types of videos, just like you at home.
Word.
If you've ever felt you need help with mental health, you should know there are always people you can reach out to.
Yeah.
That's why I'd like to thank BetterHelp.
When is the last time you spoke with her? When I left here at 5:30. Are you guys friends? You and him are friends, or like acquaintances? Well, no, what Carrie drives.
Forward
He's a
focus.
cyclist. A cyclist? Yeah.
He drives the bicycle.
He lives in South Austin.
Does she have
He got mad that his girl was boning somebody else, so he probably executed her. A man on a bicycle has nothing to go for, man. He's gonna go for gusto. That's why I'm guessing that. He's already on the bike. He had nothing to lose. Except the life in prison he's gonna get for this.
a license or wallet up there at all? You know?
I mean, she should. Yeah.
She said she's from San Francisco?
Well, she's from Vermont, but she's living in San Francisco.
So she came to visit you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, she's here for a bike race this weekend.
Okay. Did her and Collins have an argument at all, do you know?
I don't have any idea.
You don't know-
The
you know-
only thing I know is she said I'm meeting him to go swimming.
Okay. And what time was that?
5.
5 p.m. today?
Yeah, I mean, I can see it in my text messages.
When was the last time you saw her? Was that when you saw her? Or you had
I
eyes on
left
her?
for dinner at 5:30.
So you left dinner at 5:30. What time did you come back?
Right 2 minutes before I called 911.
Okay, so
According to Cash, Mariah had been with Colin, her ex-boyfriend, all day and was home only a few minutes before she was found dead. This made Colin a major person of interest that the cops would interview later on. But for now, there are more pressing matters.
If you're dating a guy who has a car, never hang out with an ex-boyfriend who is driving a bike. Like, you know what I mean? Don't hang out with him if he lives at a bus stop. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, you know?
Turns out, Mariah was in town for a bike race and had brought along with her a $14,000 racing bike which could have been a massive target for someone. And as the cops would soon find out, that bike was missing. It quickly became a possibility that someone could have been waiting for Mariah to be home alone and attempted to rob the bike, only for Mariah to resist and end up getting killed. This being their only lead, officers needed to trace down where this bike went, as it could take them straight to the murderer.
Bike?
That's her bike.
Over a bike?
Probably there.
Does she keep the bike in the garage, or where's she keep the bike at?
So she's right through this first unit here. This is her. And these are her landlords. So this is.
Didn't even take her car.
Yeah.
So where would her bike be at?
Where would she keep her bike? I mean, it would be right inside the door. Yeah.
Is her bike's inside the door? Is there a bike? Anywhere? You see a bike? She said she would put it right by the door. No bike. That's negative, Jobs.
With no trace of the bike in the house, officers decided to begin searching the woods nearby when they made a discovery that showed them they were on the wrong track completely, leaving them with absolutely zero leads.
They found the bike?
Hey, come here. Somebody might be in here. This might be the bike, okay? But hold on. Somebody might be in here.
Brain. You gotta clear out the bushes.
All right, over there. Airport 32, I located the bike.
Since the bike was dumped nearby, officers suspected that this was placed as a red herring for them to chase. Officers are being tricked, and if the killer is smart enough to trick officers, they're also smart enough to begin covering up their tracks. This is why the officers swiftly moved to gather evidence from the scene, the most important of which are the shell casings from the bullets used.
There's one right there.
You said right there. Where?
There's one right there.
Okay.
Those bullet shells will help cops identify the gun used. Now they just had to find that gun and the shooter, who officers initially believed could have been Cash. It is for this reason that officers bring Cash back to the police station in order to conduct a crucial test to confirm whether she's innocent or not.
So, let me tell you this up front. By no means in the world do I think that you did any of this. Okay? But so what they're gonna do, we're just gonna have them swab your hands for gunshot residue. If we don't do this to you, then in court they can say, oh, what about this other person? Why didn't you do this part of the investigation?
A GSR, or gunshot residue swab test of Cash's hands, presented a negative result. Considering that Mariah was in a very narrow space of the home, officers concluded that Caitlin could not have been the one to murder her. Fortunately, though, Cash did provide an important piece of information. The last person in contact with Mariah was Colin Strickland. Digging deeper into this, cops discovered that the two were having drinks at a nearby cafe and have never suspected that this would be the last time that they saw each other. This is why Colin was an important lead who could give officers valuable insight about the events leading up to the murder. But before police went in to interview Colin, they noticed some houses in the neighborhood had CCTV cameras installed, which could possibly help reveal the killer's identity. When investigators watched the footage back, they found something very interesting.
If I'm right about who the killer is, then I have a very hastily made song based on the situation for everybody out there so that dudes can understand how not to run into this type of situations.
CCTV footage revealed this black Jeep driving directly towards Cash's home where Mariah was staying that night. The moment it arrived, Ring cameras caught this gut-wrenching audio.
Oh no.
And immediately after the shooting, the killer escaped. Although this was a massive breakthrough, there was one glaring issue. Officers had no way of identifying the driver. After all, the cameras were too grainy and the vehicle was too far away for officers to get a shot of the driver or run the plates. However, only a few days later, they come across something incredibly interesting when going to question Colin Strickland, Mariah's ex-boyfriend.
Hey, how's it going?
This is the same black Jeep that officers saw on cameras parked right outside Colin's home.
Hey, so Colin? Yes. The first name? Yes. Hey, so do you know Anna? Mo. Hey, now Mo. Yeah. Everybody calls her Mo. Last name is Wilson. Rider, she's a gravel rider.
He did it. He did it. It's him. We got him.
Yes, I do. Okay, so
we got him. Got a little bit of time that he was just coming up with his alibi. We got him.
He's going to save his sister. So apparently last night she passed away. How did that? Right now it's an open investigation, but it is being investigated as a homicide.
Right now, the cops know he was the last person to see her alive. They've discovered a vehicle in his driveway that matches the one captured on security cameras, and it even has a bicycle rack attached to the rear end. Colin Strickland has just become their #1 suspect, but he doesn't realize this yet, as officers continue to question him.
Okay.
Why are you still here? You should have been out of town. Get in the plane. Hop a jet, like young thugs say to do.
What? Do you happen to have her mom's address by any chance? I know that she lives in Vermont. I have an address for her brother, but we're just trying to send someone to her mom's address instead of us actually calling her over the phone. I didn't know. I don't have an address for her. Go to the Eddie yesterday afternoon, and then give her and I dropped her at her the apartment she's been staying at. Yeah. girlfriend after about 6:30.
The cop intentionally avoided telling Colin how Mariah died, as they do with any suspect in a murder case, but they notice his body language is concerning, as he is barely able to look them in the eyes. This could either be because of pure shock, as the two had spent the previous day together, or in the worst case scenario, he's afraid to look them in the eyes because he had something to do with the murder. So to uncover these secrets, police started looking into Colin's life and his history with Mariah. This is when they discover Caitlin Armstrong, Colin's girlfriend who separated from him in October 2021, but then got back together a month later in November. However, during their breakup period, he had a month-long romantic affair with Mariah and remained in contact with her even after he resumed his relationship with Caitlin. Immediately, officers begin suspecting that Caitlin could be one of the major suspects in this investigation. These suspicions were further confirmed when they ran the plates of the black Jeep and found that it didn't belong to Colin, but it was actually owned by Caitlin. Considering that Colin was good friends with Mariah and Caitlin hated this made her a suspect in this investigation. So to get to the bottom of this, officers bring in Colin 2 days after the murder in order to achieve two objectives with one interview. The first would be able to see whether Colin has a solid alibi that he can present to the officers. After all, whether he did it or not, Colin was the last person to see Mariah alive. And the second is to gather information that can be used against other suspects, like Caitlin.
And you said that y'all left around like 6:30 to.
I don't think that's accurate anymore, because we must have left over at about 7:45 or even later, probably maybe more like 8.
Yeah.
Just as it was getting dark.
Okay.
Because we went straight to her place and it wasn't dark yet, but it was.
I got
cool. It was cooling off, and it was like awesome evening. I remember that.
Okay. Well, what about whenever y'all were at the bar? Was there anybody that was like watching y'all, or like was acting weird with Mo, or
Mo didn't know she doesn't live here, so no, not at all.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Anybody that like tried to hit on her at the bar or anything, or no? Okay.
No, not that I saw. Nor that she mentioned. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary, to be honest, at the bar.
The cops are looking for more than just details of what he and Mariah did that day. They're going to try and figure out why exactly the black vehicle from the murder scene was conveniently parked at Colin's home.
Whenever I was over there earlier, I saw there was the other car, because you said that you drive a motorcycle and then you drove the Mercedes.
Drove Mercedes
up here. I guess the other one
is hers. My girlfriend Caitlin.
Okay, so that belongs to her. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you got back around like 7:30.
I don't know exactly when that was. I think I texted Caitlin as I was leaving, just saying, "Hey, are you still out getting food?" Yeah, more like 8:30 is when I dropped her off at her house.
Okay.
Like just before dark. So I texted Caitlin as I was like after I left.
Okay. And that was whenever you.
It was 8:36. I think she was in a yoga class. She showed up.
Time close. So you ended up getting back home. She's not home. What time was it that she got home?
Short right after I texted her, probably 9:20 or so. This was 9:21.
Okay. Like where had she been? Like that whole.
She had actually a laser hair removal appointment, she said, at 7 p.m. downtown.
Gotta keep it smooth.
And then after that, I'm not exactly sure. She had texted me asking if I wanted to meet up, and I didn't reply. And then I didn't see her or hear from her.
It's all attractive.
I was back at home.
And did she say anything like whenever she got home? Like where she been?
No, but she was in her, like, a yoga outfit, carrying a yoga mat.
Although Colin had heard from Caitlin the night of the murder, he couldn't give her a solid alibi and didn't even know exactly where she did her yoga classes. He also managed to avoid mentioning his romantic affair with Mariah, but he'll soon be left with no choice but to tell the cops everything.
So how long had you and Caitlin been dating?
About a year and a half, maybe 2 years, actually.
Okay. And then how long was it that y'all had broken up whenever you and Mo got together?
Not very long, actually.
While you were dating Mo, Caitlin was still living with you?
She was moving out.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she had another house. She had a sister in town, and yeah, it was definitely very.
I was about to say that would probably be pretty
It definitely was
awkward.
It was kind of almost like something I felt like I would like to force the situation, which is stupid. But
so, why was it that you had to change the name from Mo in your phone?
Just because in the past Caitlin has looked at my phone, and I just didn't want to surface.
Basically, that would always start fights.
Exactly.
Basically, nobody else can have you.
Yeah.
You know. So gets kind of jealous.
Yeah,
Understandable.
I mean, it wasn't exactly unique to Mo or anything.
Yeah, I got you.
After listening to Colin, officers achieved what they set out to do. First, they cleared Colin, who had texts and times to back up his alibi. Secondly, they managed to gather information about Caitlin, whose entire story is shady.
Damn, really thought he did it. Well, might as well give y'all the song anyway. This is a Christmas song. It's kind of a love song. If you're clingy, then your hoe gon' trifle. Don't give a shit and she'll act delightful. Ain't no reasoning to kill her though. Let her hoe, let her hoe, let her hoe. It's a love song. You know what I'm saying? It's a Christmas jingle. I'm gonna put it on the Young Child Support Love album. It's gonna be the Christmas album. Yeah.
That means that out of the 3 suspects that officers have, Colin, Cash, and Caitlin, only Caitlin's movements are entirely unaccounted for. This is why cops were now more suspicious of her than ever, but had no irrefutable evidence to arrest Caitlin. At least, not until the cops searched the police database and hit the jackpot. Caitlin Armstrong had a warrant on her head for a minor infraction. It was all they needed to bring her in and then use it as an excuse to question her about Mariah.
All right, so I'm Detective Connor, and so my partner is actually talking to Colin right now. So I wanted to come in here and start chatting with you and everything so you don't have to wait super long. So it sounds like you may have some information, may have witnessed something, so I just wanted to chat with you about some stuff. But you're here for a warrant right now, I guess. Are you familiar with what you have going on with that?
No idea.
Okay, so I guess it was like a theft of service warrant, something kind of minor. Nothing. Okay. So that's why you're here. You've got a theft of service warrant. That's why you got picked up today and everything. So I was just letting you know on that part.
Observe how the detective maintains an almost nonchalant demeanor, despite the gravity of the situation. This is deliberately done to create a sense of security for Caitlin, ensuring she remains unaware that she is under any suspicion by the police. Despite this, Caitlin appears noticeably tense and uneasy.
Can you tell me what it was that was the theft of service?
I can look. I'm not sure what it is at this point, but I can look that up later and get you a little bit more information on that for sure. But because you are here and because you were under arrest for that portion of it, we always have to read Miranda and stuff because I want to talk to you about some other stuff that's unrelated to that.
The officer has ignored Caitlin's questions about her warrant because she is more focused on digging up information about Mariah's murder, a tactic that becomes dangerous as Caitlin begins to raise concerns about her legal counsel.
If I have an existing warrant and you don't know what it's about, do I need an attorney here?
So the warrant is just a Class B, just theft of service type thing. The reason I'm here is because your name came up during a conversation with Colin. I think there's a lot more information that you have that can kind of explain some of the stuff he's saying. But to be able to do that, I have to read you your rights, just so that you know and you're protected and things like that, okay?
Okay, and so if you're reading me my rights, then I should
That's because of the warrant, because you're under arrest for the warrant. So you're technically in custody because of that warrant. So they're 2 separate things. Does that make sense?
The detective just stopped her from requesting a lawyer. Oh, this is getting good.
I think so, but I have never heard.
Even though they have Caitlin exactly where they want her, one tiny mistake is about to allow someone cops suspect to be a killer to walk away scot-free.
Well, good news. So that's what they were just knocking on the door is apparently that warrant, the date of birth was wrong. So it had your name, but the date of birth is wrong. So it's to a different person. So that's not, you're not under arrest, okay?
Okay.
I know, it's a little crazy.
Although the cop tries to make a joke of the situation, Caitlin now knows that she can leave whenever she wishes. After all, cops have no legal ground to hold her any longer. This is why it's down to this cop to try and convince her that talking is the right thing to do.
But I would really like to talk to you and clear some stuff up because Colin did bring your name up, and I think there's a lot more information that you have that can kind of clear some stuff up. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I feel like I should have an attorney present.
So that's totally your choice. So at this point, you are free to leave at any point. So this is going to be consensual at this point because you're not under arrest, okay?
To make matters worse, Caitlin has just requested an attorney. Legally, the detective is now bound to cease any and all questioning related to Mariah's murder, but she's about to thread a very dangerous line of breaking the law in order to get any information out of Caitlin.
I would love to leave.
You would love to leave?
He just arrested me in front of my house, in front of all of my neighbors, and carried me in here in handcuffs in front of downtown Austin. It was incredibly
I can only imagine, yeah. And I'm so sorry. I don't have control over that part, okay?
Yeah, I'm not upset with you.
So there's a situation that's going on. Did you hear about what's happened over the past 24 hours?
Colin walked in the house and said one of the women in the cycling community passed away.
Yes, yeah. While Colin was talking to us, your name came up. And so that's where I would really like to talk to you because it sounds like there were some issues between you and this girl, and I think that there's probably a lot more to it that you could help explain.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what you mean or what information you'd like.
So it sounds like maybe he went out with this girl the other day, and maybe it sounds like from what he's saying that you were a little upset about it. And so that's why I kind of wanted to get your side of it, because that's not fair if he's just saying one thing and trying to go down a route, and I want to make sure that's not the case.
That is not accurate.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to chat with you, because it's a guy. He's going to say stuff, and so we want to make sure that we get both sides.
She just hooked her. Yeah, that whole camaraderie, it's a guy. They're going to say anything. Dudes, it's a chick, man. They say anything.
The story and everything and clear it up. So what were you doing yesterday?
I would like to leave, I think.
You'd like to leave?
Yeah.
Okay. But understand, if you do, then we only have one side of the story to go on. Mm-hmm. And from what we're hearing from Colin, it's one side and
Well, I just am uncertain as to even what you mean or what he could have said, because I didn't have any idea that he saw or went out with this girl.
Okay, yeah.
Recently.
Has he been talking to her on the side?
Leave. I don't actually know. And I would like to leave.
Okay.
At this point, getting Caitlin to talk willingly seems like a lost cause. She knows she can walk out of the station and nobody can stop her. So the detective decides to drop their bombshell evidence in the hope she might crack.
And your vehicle was seen next to her house. And we needed to talk about that, okay? Because when he's saying this stuff and then your vehicle is seen, I want to be able to explain, okay, there's a logical explanation for this. Maybe you were upset and you were just in the area or something. I don't know, because I don't have your story. When I can't explain that and all I see is that your vehicle's over there, that kind of makes it look not too good, right? Okay. And then when we're talking to Colin and we're hearing yeah, there was some jealousy stuff going on, that doesn't sound very good. And so that's why I really want to get your side of the story, because maybe there's a lot more going on.
I would like to leave if I'm free to leave.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there was nothing that officers could do to stop Caitlin from walking out. At this point, they were incredibly suspicious of her, as her behavior throughout the interrogation meant that she was hiding something. But if officers couldn't find out what this was from Caitlin, they'd do it from the one person who knew her best, Colin Strickland, who was called in a second time for an interview in hopes of uncovering more information about Caitlin. However, there is one problem. This time, Colin brought his lawyer with him, and questioning him is about to become exponentially harder.
How was Caitlin during that time? I guess my understanding, she wasn't too happy whenever she saw Mo.
Caitlin after Mo was in Austin for a week, and Mo and I had separated. broken up with Caitlin before Mo came to town. And then I actually did not know that she was coming to Austin in October. I had no idea. We hadn't discussed that, and I don't think so, because it felt like a surprise. And then she was here, and I just said, "Oh, let's hang out." So I was mentally ready to kind of move on. And I know after Mo left town after a week, Caitlin's things were still at my house. We were sleeping in separate rooms, and effectively, you know, Caitlin was on Bumble. I know she had made several dates with people. I don't know. I never asked like what extent they were evolving a relationship, but I know that she had several men that she was dating of sorts, and I was fine with it. I mean, that was kind of the understanding, of course. So, yeah, it just seems very weird to me that there would be any dwelling on fixating on a person when she was like moving on to other relationships, at that time.
From what Collins says, the two clearly had a troubled relationship, especially considering the facts that both Colin and Caitlin rebounded while on break. This is why officers need to dig deeper into what Caitlin acted like both during and after this time to determine if she showed obsessive traits in her personality.
It's just kind of going back to, me just trying to figure out, like, just kind of how she is, her personality and stuff. I mean, if you were to ask me about, like, hey, how was your wife? Well, yeah, I'm going to tell you, yeah, she's always happy. But does she get mad? Yes, everybody gets mad. That's natural. I'm not going to blow that out of proportion. Do I think that my wife could go and kill somebody? No. There's no way in the world. Do I think my wife would hit somebody? No. Now, if you ask me that about my 6-year-old son, yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if he wouldn't punch somebody at all.
I think Caitlin would hit somebody. No, I honestly don't, because it would be too. I don't know. Do I think Caitlin could kill somebody? No, I don't.
If Caitlin had been planning to murder Mariah, Colin was about to make it clear he suspected nothing all along.
I said, I think y'all need to stop talking to each other. You need to separate yourselves from each other while the fact finding is going on. I just don't think it would be helpful.
Of course.
And so I don't think there's been there's definitely not been any being together.
Since she left and I left Friday midday, eventually to get a new SIM card for my phone, which I assumed was okay.
Yeah.
Had the same number.
You're allowed to have a phone.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
And then saw Claire. Since then, I haven't spoken with Caitlin or seen her. And so the two detectives came by my house yesterday, asking if she was there, if I had seen where she was. And my father had contacted her yesterday morning. He had gotten in touch with her. I gave him the number that Caitlin had given our mutual attorney.
Has she ever mentioned in the past of wanting to hurt Mo?
No, she's never mentioned wanting to physically hurt.
Okay. Do you think that she is capable?
If I thought she was physically capable of hurting another human, I would have extricated myself immediately from that situation. Not only not so much for my own personal safety, but my concern for another human.
So what's that answer?
The answer is no.
Okay.
I don't believe in any way she's capable of that.
Okay. The gun range that she visited with her sister, do you know where that gun range is?
I think it was on South I-35. I told them to go to the Reds, which is now something else, which is the one I drove past on my way to school for 12 years at the Waldorf school. But they went to another one because a mutual friend had been there.
You bought the guns, right?
I bought the guns, yes.
When was that?
I think early December.
Okay.
There's a receipt with them. I'm sure you could look at the receipt.
In an ironic twist, Colin had bought Caitlin a gun for self-defense, but after police conducted a firearm examination, it just so happened that the bullets it used were the same caliber that were found near Mariah's body. So far, the cops had evidence of Caitlin's car at the scene, they knew about her obsessive behavior, and they knew she owned the same model of gun that was used to kill Mariah. But while they searched for her whereabouts, the investigation continued to uncover crucial and damning evidence that not only heavily suggested Caitlin was responsible for Mariah's death, but also cleared Colin of any wrongdoing. The cops gathered all cell phone data and compared it to the surveillance footage, allowing them to map the movements of Mariah, Colin, and Caitlin on the night of May 11th, 2022. Colin and Mariah were at Pool Burger after their swim and were there around 7 p.m. When they left, they headed to Maple Avenue, but didn't realize that Caitlin was stalking them and was driving in the same direction. Caitlin thought that turning off her cell phone would cover her tracks, but the surveillance footage caught her, and what it shows is a black Jeep eerily similar to Caitlin's closing in on the house where Mariah was killed. As Colin dropped Mariah off at the Maple Avenue address, both were completely unaware that Caitlin was secretly stalking them only yards away. The same black Jeep had driven down the back alley of Maple Avenue and was slowly heading toward Mariah's address. Moments after Colin left, a neighbor's doorbell camera captured audio of Mariah screaming for her life before she was murdered. Colin's cell phone placed him driving away from the area before Mariah's death and cleared him as a suspect. This meant that the only person who could have killed Mariah was Caitlin. All that was left to do was arrest her. But when officers went to find her, they discovered a massive problem. Just hours before they solved the murder, Caitlin had left the country under a fraudulent passport, which was originally her sister's. Caitlin likely did this to avoid using her own passport in case officers were keeping tabs on her, but the fraudulent passport gave her enough time to escape. After getting a search warrant for her Gmail records, officers found a flight ticket that was booked for a one-way flight to Costa Rica. Even CCTV footage obtained from Austin Bergstrom International Airport in Austin showed her boarding into the plane. An initial investigation into her records showed that she had booked a hostel in Santa Teresa Beach while working as a yoga instructor. So, to lure her out, an officer sent a message out on social media asking for a yoga teacher in the local area. Soon, Caitlin took the bait and replied to the ad and agreed to meet up. But in the
Oh, bro, I see now why people watch these, bro. Bro, this is like the most interesting thing I've seen in years, bro, and ever, bro. This is wild, bro.
month that she'd been on the run, she'd taken some extreme measures in order to conceal her identity. Caitlin had undergone several surgical operations to alter her appearance, but there was no fooling the arresting officer, who recognized Caitlin from her eyes. She was arrested and flown back to the United States, where she was charged with attempted murder. However, that wasn't the end of it, because in October 2023, Caitlin tried to escape again by taking advantage of a doctor's appointment outside of jail. She can be seen here fleeing from the cops after she jumped from a bathroom window. This time, she was caught almost instantly. If the several attempts to escape justice and falsifying of documents weren't enough to convince a jury Caitlin was guilty, then the surveillance footage and the testimony of Colin Strickland, and most importantly, the ballistic analysis that matched the gun to the shell casings found at the scene of the crime certainly were enough to convince them. Consequently, a year and a half later, on November 16, 2023, Caitlin was found guilty of first-degree murder, and she was sentenced to 90 years in prison for the cold-blooded murder of Mariah Wilson.
Damn, that's wild. Oh, my favorite part was her running, but at the end. Yo.
So do you know if I'm gonna be able to go home today?
You aren't going anywhere. What you did last night is fucked up. You killed somebody.
Just hours prior to this interrogation, 20-year-old Isaac Pence brutally stabbed someone to death and fled the scene. Over 20 college students watched as Isaac viciously took the life of their friend, Charles Starner. Unfortunately for them, they were in the middle of the woods, staying in a vacation cabin in Ohio. Help was far away, and Isaac was on the run. Over the course of the next few days, this group of college kids would work with police to hunt down this evil killer together and bring justice to their friend who was senselessly killed. But Isaac thinks he's getting away with it.
I stabbed him on some police shit.
And you think that's funny?
Everyone got way too drunk, about 15 of them, all wanted to come outside and try and jump me. Shit gonna happen. Yeah, I woke up and my mom's like, hey, cops are out here for you. I was like, what the fuck do you mean the cops are out here for me?
Huh?
On the night of April 22nd, 2023, 23-year-old Dalton Flagg was celebrating his birthday with friends and family at a rented cabin in Hocking County, Ohio. But what should have been the perfect night would quickly turn out to be a tragedy. This is the CCTV footage outside the house. After a long night of drinking, an altercation ensues between a group of teens. Isaac stood in the midst of the argument with his girlfriend Sabra watching from afar. After a few seconds of back and forth, Isaac snaps, throwing a punch into the crowd. This made them push Isaac back into a car where he would strike the crowd again before setting off towards his own vehicle. However, moments later, the fist fight quickly turned into a gruesome scene. Outside of the camera's view, Isaac ran back to his car to grab something. But before he could exit his car again, he was quickly cornered by multiple people trying to force him to leave. That's when Isaac pulled out his knife and attacked. Charles Starner, the college student pushing on Isaac's car door, went on to receive 6 brutal stab wounds, struck in the neck and the back. Panic set in as everyone realized the horrifying scene unfolding in front of them. One of Charles's friends quickly grabbed him and pulled him away from the vicious attack. Isaac would then quickly get inside his car and drive off into the woods with his girlfriend Sabra. The killer, Isaac, was now on the loose and would spend the following hours attempting to cover his tracks. Charlie, on the other hand, the student he just stabbed, limped over to his friends, fading in and out of consciousness. Charlie's friend Hannah was an EMS student, but the injuries were too brutal for her to keep him alive. By the time paramedics arrived on scene, it was already too late, and Charlie would pass away.
Damn.
Officers at this point have no idea what led to Charlie's death. Anyone at the crime scene could be a potential killer, so they immediately rally everyone together, looking for outliers.
All right, you want to slide him over so I can move my car? Let's go, guys. That is Detective Sumner right there. She's going to start asking questions.
Nice to meet you.
Top of the morning. Yeah, great night.
The witching hour happens upon us slowly.
I saw everything that happened. Why don't you come stand over here? You saw what happened too? Stay separate, but stand over here. Anyone else?
The two people who just stepped forward, Hannah and James, and they are the only two who are entirely drenched in blood.
Do you have a phone?
I believe it's right to the side of the forearm.
Just stand where you're at. Stay like this. Any blood on your pants or shoes? We're probably gonna take your hoodie.
James's blood stains appear to be those of a witness, since they were smooth and smeared. If he was the one who stabbed Charlie, the blood patterns would likely be sharp and scattered across the body. As for Hannah, all of her arms were covered in blood, indicating that she was likely trying to stop Charlie from bleeding out by applying pressure. Regardless, it's clear the two were eyewitnesses to Charlie's murder, so Detective Summers and her counterpart would immediately conduct an interview with both James and Hannah to get a clear recollection of events.
Alright, that's a body cam sitting up there on the dash. Alright, tell me what you saw, what happened, what led up to all these events.
So I had been inside the house. Once you go in and you go to the right, there's like the whole kitchen, family room, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's this one kid the whole party that, because he knew I had a background in EMS, was calling me firefighter, firefighter, firefighter. And so I showed him some pictures from like different like fires I'd been on. And then somebody got mad at him for...
Yeah, I got a fight. I'll show you guys real quick. I only have one fight. The boxing people that I was fighting for. At first, this guy, the referee, tries to get me to buy him a house so that he can sell vagina out of it. He's like, support me, man. Black people don't never help other black people. And I'm like, you're trying to open a brothel and put my name on the lease. I'm not supporting a brothel. Like, I don't. I was just honestly gonna just like play with the guy a little bit. I wasn't really gonna beat him up until he started disrespecting me like the bullies used to disrespect me when I went to school back in the hood. And I was just like, so I beat him up. I was like, I was gonna be nice, but he was so mean to me before the fight. You know, fuck it.
Motherfuckers ready. Let's fight. Let's go, Maurice. Yeah, block that shit, boy. Don't be scared. 1, 2. Get him, Mom. Hold up, one down, straight down the middle, straight down the middle. Back his ass up. Back his ass up. Yeah, like, throw it. Back his ass up. Back his ass up. Back his ass up. Get him. Keep fighting, bro. Keep fighting. I'm telling you, bro. That's how you make power.
Oh my God.
Let's go. 1 minute. Come on, go. Green.
Yeah, it was fun.
Just go, Maurice. Just go. Go, Maurice. Just go.
Talking to me, which wasn't even any guy that I really knew. Well, so they started fist fighting inside, like right in the doorway once you go into the right. And the kid that's covered in blood, Jimmy and I were kind of standing off to the side. And I told him, I was like, I don't like this. It's like, I mean, everybody's trying to tear it up and stuff. Like, they were still wrestling. They got out into this main corridor right here in front of the door, but I was still sitting, like, at the kitchen table. So, I could kind of hear what was going on. But, once again, I didn't want to get line of fire. Well, I heard somebody say gun. And that's when I was like, I'm definitely going to stay in here. They're out here fighting, like, right in front of my truck, the Toyota 4Runner. And Jimmy, the kid that's covered in blood, was trying to separate them. And I think what happened is he pulled over to a center console, pulled a knife out, and what he did, he went straight for the neck. That's how he got the neck wound. For his back again, and he got him again in the back. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 stab wounds. But I mean, he did, like, I mean, it was very fast, very vigorously.
The moves Hannah describes are not supposed to be used to protect yourself from the attacker, but to kill them. One poke or a stab might be enough to deter the attacker, but 4 or 5 of them to vital parts of the victim's body is a clear indication that Isaac intended to kill.
That's game over.
So kind of explain this to me a little bit. So they were fighting, I guess, fist fighting over here on this side?
Yeah, they were fighting on this side.
Okay. And then what happened?
That guy, I think his name's Isaac. He got up.
So he got knocked down?
I don't know. I was standing on the porch at that time.
He was over here on the porch?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just saw them all go down there. He was parked right next to the 4Runner. So he went to get in his car, and that's when everything happened.
I love boxing. So much fun.
I saw him
That's
start
what's up, baby.
stabbing Charlie, so that's when I kicked his door to kind of stump him, and then I pulled Charlie away and then onto the other side, and that's when we were all just
Very
holding
good.
him.
You kept your hands.
Did he
up the
know he had a
entire
knife
time,
at that point, you think?
And
No,
landed
he
a
knew.
decisive blow.
Okay.
Very good for your part, my guy.
After
Hey,
that,
thank you, OTM Reaper.
I just kept my arm around Charlie to
Thank you,
hold
bro.
pressure on all of his
I like your
wounds.
energy, OTM Reaper.
That's why there's blood from this side of the Forerunner over, because after I drug him there, that's where I sat the whole time until
Tonight was just not right, and that was terrifying. I understand. It was just an absolute show, and I came out onto the porch to make sure, like, I was honestly kind of scared I was going to get shot, because they had said, you know, there might be a gun, but I wanted to be here in case somebody got hurt, and
Isaac had called over the phone and threatened to come back and finish the job, further confirming to police that this was not an act of self-defense. While Jimmy and Hannah's interviews provide detectives with a clear picture of what led to the stabbings, both witnesses had never met Isaac before. However, police still know nothing about the actual person who committed this murder. So Detective Summers decides to bring in Dalton, the party's host, who also happens to be Sabra's brother, and he would reveal some twisted information crucial
good
to
night,
solving
Blast.
this
Chat.
case.
Hope all goes great for the rest of the night. Thanks, bros.
We've been here the whole weekend.
South Park. South Park. What? You guys got good taste.
Yeah, we got here Friday, like 4 p.m. I think it was. And literally, like, all these people, I was making sure everybody had, like, safe rides home. I didn't want people driving. Like, if you're driving, like, there's plenty of room to stay. Everybody can stay. And I was making sure everyone was leaving. And Isaac Pence, the one that he was belligerent. And I said, dude, I was like, you have a safe ride to go home. Just leave. There's no, like, there's no reason for anything. You're like, everybody's going home. Half the people are sleeping, trying to go to bed. Like, I was in the when this all like went down, I was telling everybody to get him out. Like, just get him out of here. Tell him to leave. Get him out of here. And then they all started freaking out. He stabbed him. I was like, we all were freaking out. Like, I was like, I was so much in shock. Like, I did not know what to do. I was up in there, and Hannah and Jimmy, they were all helping, like, holding, like, on him. I was like, just keep pressure on him. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, and they were all calling
Who is him?
Who's
him? When you're saying that they were holding pressure on him,
Chuck, the one that got stabbed. Charlie Starner, Hannah, and Jimmy, they were holding pressure on him after, like, they were like, he stabbed him, and, like, Isaac hopped in the car after, like, immediately and sped off up through here.
Okay. Who was Isaac with? Who did he sleep with?
My sister, Saberfly. Isaac's had issues in the past. He's put his hands on my sister, and he's just literally went to jail 3 months ago for putting his hands on my mom.
Isaac Pence was someone that should never have been at this party in the first place. He already had a history of being violent, as Dalton explained, and to make matters worse, he was deadbeat
really
drunk,
violent.
flailing around, assaulting everyone that came into view. It was only a matter of time before someone got seriously hurt. It just so happened that Dalton telling Isaac to leave made him explode. More importantly, Dalton explained that Isaac went to prison for assaulting his mother. This is very important information, as it could prove in court that Isaac had pre-existing tendencies of assault. Detective Summers plans to speak to Dalton's mother face-to-face, but before she's able to do so, she receives disturbing information that changes the case completely.
They went to the hotel room where Saber's mom is staying. She told him to get their shit and get out. And I don't know, she doesn't know if he's coming back to finish what he started or what.
Oh, nice. Cool. Hope he does.
I'll head up to the top.
All right, good luck. Go with God.
With these claims in mind, police would have everyone evacuate the premises and lock down the cabin.
Oh boy.
Fortunately, Isaac would never show, and the hunt for Isaac Pence would go cold for the night.
I'm Lieutenant Angles. This is Detective Randolph. Okay. We just need a statement from you about what happened last night.
Okay. I know. I was supposed to be at work at 6 o'clock this morning. I was woke up at 3 a.m. by my daughter calling me on the phone. She was hard to understand. I could tell she was intoxicated. And she was very hard for me to understand what she was saying. I knew there was a fight. She said a fight was breaking out. She said, I've lost my I don't have my glasses, I don't have my purse, I don't have a shoe, I was trampled on. Dalton and Isaac, Dalton is my son, Isaac is, they, not been bad blood, but Isaac's not treated Saber very well. We had a court case not too long ago where he threw me across the room. So Dalton's just protective of his sister, worried for her safety, really. So he told her yesterday he's not to come if he's been drinking. Well, when he got out of the car, he already had an open container on him. And Dalton said he tried to get him to leave all night. Several times he tried to get him to leave, and Isaac wouldn't leave.
Okay. So this is what she told you on the phone, correct?
Yeah. And then I said, Saber, where are you going right now? Where are you? She said she first told me they were at Isaac's house. I said, Saber, okay. But I could hear this in the background. I could hear Isaac talking to somebody. And she was still sitting in the car. And I said, if you're at your house, if you guys are at your house, why are you still sitting in the car? She was like, well, I don't know where we are. I said, Saber, ask Isaac where you are. So she asked Isaac where they were. Isaac said, it's okay, I stopped at a buddy's house. And I said, okay. I don't know what buddy. I know they said something on Chicken Coop Road. But then they left there and came to the room. They were in my room, maybe 20 minutes, and I told Isaac he needed to leave. He said, he was calm when I was talking to Saber on the phone. Much different person when he was there at the room. He said, well, once I go to my house to get what I need, I'm going back out there. I don't know what he was meaning, but he was going out there to finish something off.
What time was that?
That was, they left my room at 19 till 5.
5 a.m.?
Yes. Because then I called my mom, because I said, obviously, I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to work today. And I called McDonald's, I'm a manager at McDonald's, and I called him and said, I don't really know what's going on. This is all I know, but I know my kid, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not being told everything, and I still can't believe this.
It's frankly terrifying that despite the fact that Saber just watched her boyfriend stab someone to death, all she cares about is getting her belongings back before work the next day. This ignorance and complete disregard for their crimes is something that both Isaac and Saber should be held accountable for. Police would go on to get written statements from everyone at the house that night, adding to the pile of evidence against Isaac. However, the next day, Hannah and James would show up to the station to provide police with the most damning evidence they've received yet.
Obviously, a lot was going on yesterday. So I remember how I said I had been on the porch? Well, I flew off the porch so fast, and I ended up on the hood of my truck because I thought Isaac was going to hit my car. Okay. So I started recording a video in the circumstance that he hit my car. Okay. And I captured the entire stabbing. I captured Sabra, the female that was in the passenger seat. You can see her reach into the back seat with her flashlight on her phone on.
Damn.
There's Sabra grabbing something like that. And then that's him dragging him away. Honestly, if you put the brightness on the video up, we might be able to see a little bit better. So.
That's sad. That's wild.
It's him standing up in the door up there. There's Saber getting into the back seat.
I hope that part don't get canceled.
And she tosses it onto his seat.
Tosses what?
Something from the back seat onto his
That's
car
what's up,
seat.
big door text. Back door
Isaac's
text.
on. So Isaac's right there.
When I make it big, I don't make sure to look out for these dudes in the community. I never met him.
He's the one standing up there. That's his arm yelling. Then he's stabbing right there.
That laugh today went a long way.
Jimmy.
Hey, for real, back door text. Bros, man.
Unfortunately, we have to censor the evidence due to YouTube's guidelines, but an uncensored version, along with the extended 3-hour cut of the video, is available on our Patreon linked in the description. This video is a crucial step in proving Isaac guilty, as it shows clearly that Isaac did in fact stab Charlie. Additionally, Saber seems to hand something over to Isaac right before the stabbing occurs, meaning she could have potentially given Isaac the knife used to kill Charlie. With this, police have more than enough evidence to arrest Isaac and Sabra. This would be an easy task, as police were able to ping Sabra's phone location to Isaac's house.
Damn.
They would be detained shortly thereafter. However, during the investigation, they also discovered something peculiar. By tracing the car's movements found at Isaac's house, officers realized that Sabra and Isaac visited 2 other locations before arriving at their own home. The first was the house of Isaac's friend, Justin Sloan. At approximately 3 a.m., just minutes after the stabbing, CCTV cameras captured Sabra and Isaac stopping at the home. Why exactly they stopped would soon unravel itself as officers called Justin.
That makes no sense.
Hello, is this Justin?
Yes.
Hi, Justin. This is Detective McKnight, Hocking County Sheriff's Office. I appreciate you talking to Captain Robinson earlier, but I've just got a couple follow-up questions real quick. So the questions that I have is, do you know Saber?
Yes, because she knew my little brother and stuff. That's how I met her.
But this is the first time she's been to your house?
This current house that I live in, yes. Normally we all just kind of meet at our friend's house.
Was she present during the discussions when Isaac was telling you what was happening, what happened last night?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was she present when he hid the knives?
She was in my garage on the phone with her mother.
And he left the garage to go, did he say he was going to go do that?
Yeah, I couldn't really tell him no because I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea if it was true or not.
Okay. Do you have any idea who told the police that he was going to come back and finish the job?
I don't think. I didn't hear him say stuff like that when he was drunk and freaking out at my house, though. It might even be on camera, but I don't know.
Did you ever go to college out here? Like, how long you been in Vegas?
Kind of. It was more of like he just wanted to go back and beat up the other people that were trying to jump him.
Okay, all right.
The killer couple hid 2 knives at Justin's home. Evidently, the 2 were panicking. With a fresh kill on their hands, they didn't know what to do and stashed the knives at Justin's home without him knowing. Once Justin refuses to give them shelter, Isaac and Sabra make a second stop, Sabra's mother's hotel room. It's obvious the 2 were panicking. Isaac knew what he did could get him in serious trouble, so instead of working with the police to prove his innocence, he hid the murder weapons and ran. The evidence points to Isaac as a clear killer who murdered an innocent college student for no reason.
Lame.
With little to no evidence proving this statement to be wrong, detectives decide it's time to conduct their first formal interrogation with Isaac. The goal of this interrogation is to get Isaac to admit to the murder, and then slowly break his attempt at claiming self-defense until he has nothing left other than to admit his evil actions.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? You live on Pickerington Road? Okay, how long have you lived there?
About 6-7 years now.
Who do you live there with?
My mom, my stepdad.
Okay.
I got a little brother, a little sister.
Okay.
And then Sabra and my 2 kids.
Okay. And who's Sabra?
My fiance.
Okay, alright. And how old are your children?
One is 1 and one is 4 months.
Okay.
On the surface, it might look like Isaac is a proud father, but he's hiding
That's
more than
not
a few
bad,
skeletons
OTM.
in his closet. When officers arrived to arrest him, his
Join
home's
my
condition
Discord,
was beyond
and we could probably set something
deplorable.
up.
The
You know
pungent
what I mean?
smell of
You
ammonia,
can come through
likely
to all of us,
accumulated
we all
from
could do a
urine,
group
filled
ticket.
up every single corner of the home. But that wasn't even the worst part. Isaac was a well-known abuser, and in his girlfriend's mother's words, Sabra was his biggest victim. This meant that the children he tries to speak so dearly about were the same ones who, according to people close to Isaac, had to live in a house that stunk of urine, all the while seeing their mother be abused on the regular. To many, it might seem that Isaac's complete disregard and ignorance of anyone but himself is what landed him here in the first place. Yet, in his eyes, he seems to think that he's done nothing wrong. In fact, as the interview continues, it's almost as if he sees himself as the victim.
So, sounds like you guys came up here for a birthday party, is that correct?
Yeah.
So whose birthday was it?
It was her brother's birthday. Me and her brother never got along.
Okay.
I was sitting there the whole time, and it's like, I know this is a bad idea, but I want to make her happy. So I was like, I will try to put my pride aside. Let's go ahead and go.
Okay.
We were there. Everything was good. It was completely
When did you get there?
As of around 8, I think 8:30. Well, everything was completely fine, and we're having a good time.
Link to the Discord.
She didn't have a panic attack.
Hey, yo, Lord
she
Bates, can you
wanted
put
to
a
get
link to the
hot tub,
Discord
and she was
in the
way too
chat?
drunk, and she's, he's gonna be mad if I get in a hot tub. I was like, hey, you're fine. Go get in a hot tub. She's like, well, there's other dudes in there. I was like, listen, I'm not getting in a hot tub because I'm wearing work shorts or work pants, work shirt. I'm not getting in a hot tub. I was like, you want to get in there? Go ahead.
Notice how Isaac completely leaves out the facts that he, too, was belligerently drunk. Pay attention to how Isaac cleverly leaves out details that may diminish his story.
She gets in there, everything's fine. Well, later on that night, she's outside, and we're all standing out in the hallway.
She's outside, so...
Yeah, she's out on the patio.
Who's she?
Sarah.
Okay.
But then it was me, her brother, and I think like 2 other guys.
Alright, and what's her brother's name?
Dalton.
Dalton, okay.
I don't know the other 2 guys, but we were all standing right here in the hallway, and someone ended up like pushing me. So I pushed him back. Well, Dalton thought that I pushed his girlfriend Horizon, and so he got all pissed off. That's when everyone tried to jump me. Well, I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit, so I start throwing them to the side, and that's when I was like, I'm not trying to f*** anybody, so just toss them to the side. I got in my car. I was telling Saber, I was like, hey, if you want to go, then we're going. Well, they came and they got in the passenger car, and they took her sunglasses, or no, her actual glasses and her purse out, trying to keep her to just stay there. So, you're gonna stay here. And I was like, well, with everything going on, like, I'm going to leave. Because...
You said you just want to leave?
Yeah, it was from 10 to 15 guys.
Okay.
And they all decided they were gonna try to fight me. Then this one comes up to my car door, came up and he was kicking my car. I mean, once they started sitting there trying to bust the glass to get to me, that's when I pulled out a knife. I was like, hey, you need to back up. And they didn't want to. No, they ended up opening my car door.
What car door?
My driver's side car door.
They did? Okay.
Yeah. It was 2 to 3 guys were sitting there, and they were just yanking on it. I was trying to hold it as good as I could, and it was 3 guys sitting there pulling on it. I was like, I'm not gonna let my door break. I was like, hey, you guys need to back up. Like, this is not going down right here.
Okay.
And they didn't want to listen. So I was like, listen. And just start poking out a little bit.
Immediately, Isaac's story contradicts all of the witness statements thus far. Isaac claims he was the one trying to leave the party, while everyone else claims they were trying to get Isaac to leave. Unfortunately for Isaac, the phone recording, CCTV footage, and mountains of other evidence go directly against what he's saying. But, for now, detectives will let Isaac create a detailed narrative without confrontation, so that they can use it against him in later interrogations.
Like, I didn't try to do it to physically hurt anybody really bad, but I did it just to, like, poke, like, hey, I have a knife, calm down.
Where did you get the knife?
Oh, it was in my car.
Okay.
I use it for work.
Okay.
Because doing construction, we used to cut plastic and everything.
Okay.
They wouldn't stop. They just kept going. So I tried to stab the one guy in the arm just so they would go. Well, as soon as I stabbed him in the arm, they left. The other 2 guys took off completely.
Okay.
And That's when Saber got in the car and I took off. I left, got somewhere safe. I called my mom. I was like, hey, I should not be driving right now. And a bunch of shit just popped off. I was like, I need to figure out something. I gotta go somewhere, but I don't need to be driving.
So you stabbed the guy in the arm one time?
I think it was twice.
Twice? Sure wasn't more than that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So when you left and you said you called mom, right? So did she come get you from there?
She was not able to.
Gotcha. So did you go, where'd you go after that?
I went straight home.
Isaac is blatantly making lie after lie. Every lie he makes during this interrogation will only come back to haunt him once he's presented with factual evidence.
The knife. What's its location? Where's it?
Should still be in my car.
Should be in the car.
It's not. It's not.
So
if I didn't drive after.
Gotcha.
So
Yo,
it's either in
Jim
the car
Rising,
or
W's
it's
in the
at
chat,
house.
OTM.
Gotcha.
Detectives would
Thank
wrap
you,
this
Reggie Side.
interrogation
What's
up
up, bros?
quickly as they got exactly what he needed. Isaac doubled down on his claims of self-defense and lied through his teeth in order to do so. Now that they have these statements on record, Isaac is going to have a really hard time proving his innocence once he's confronted. But for now, police have another issue to address. It's still unclear what Saber's role was in the murder. The phone recording could indicate that she handed Isaac the knife, so she could be equally as guilty for the crime as Isaac is. However, their one priority is to convict Isaac and extract the truth of what happened that night. So they sit Saber down for her one and only interrogation, with plans to slowly build the pressure until she breaks down and confesses everything.
Let's start out at, let's say, 8 o'clock last night. What time did you get to the party?
So I was at work and then I got off at 7. I asked for around 7:30. I had a few people coming in.
Gamer Stevie get worse punishment. Maybe because the line. Most definitely. You're welcome, bro. Hey, thank you, Gamer Stevie, for real, for real.
He's like, yeah, let's do it, we'll just go for a few hours because I'm supposed to open today. Well, once we got there, my brother was like, yeah, I want to drink with you, like, just stay, and then we'll make sure you're up in the morning. I just decided to sit on the couch because I was like, I know I gotta get up in the morning, I gotta go to work. I don't want to get too, wasted. So I was just sitting on the couch, and they're still having a good time. Isaac's having a good time, and all of a sudden I hear this big, arguing, and I was like, oh my gosh, please tell me it's not with Isaac. I go out, and I hear, a bunch of different stories. Isaac and a few other people are saying that he accidentally pushed Horizon, which is my brother's girlfriend. Then my brother's sitting here saying he intentionally pushed her. I don't think he intentionally pushed her. He's not that type of person. He's not violent, especially with girls. Because his mom was abused by his dad, so he knows what it's like. And he's seen his mom go through all of that. So I know he's not that type of person.
It's awfully odd that Saber describes Isaac as non-violent and doubles down on him not being the aggressor the entire night, because all of the previous witnesses stated otherwise. Isaac has had a thorough history of abuse, and everyone besides Saber clearly remembers him being the aggressor the entire night. There is a good chance that the reason why Saber is defending Isaac is a far more deep-rooted issue. Trauma bonding occurs when an individual suffers from cycles of abuse, followed by positive reinforcement. This causes the victim to develop a strong emotional attachment to the abuser, which can result in a rationalization of the abuser's behavior. Considering the fact that Isaac has abused Saber's mom, one might question if he's really the saint Saber makes him out to be in their relationship. But for now, all that Saber wants is to defend Isaac, because to her, it doesn't matter if he's a murderer.
And they're sitting here arguing. I'm trying to talk to Isaac to calm him down because I'm one of the only people that can calm him down. I'm like, okay, let's just, if anything, let's just go in your car, sit for a couple hours, and then we can go home. Then they followed us outside. It was 10 guys, all of my brother's friends. And this guy, I think his name is Clay. I don't want to be wrong. He goes, are you really starting problems again? And I think he might have thought maybe when I had my panic attack that Isaac was starting some sort of drama, but he pushed Isaac. Isaac went flying back into a car. I tried to intervene. I'm just trying to get Isaac away because I didn't want to see my brother fight Isaac and any of that to happen. They end up like back behind Isaac's car. They end up going down that hill. I'm following them, trying to, you know, break it up. Somehow I fall and they're like trampling all over me. I have a big bruise on my knee. And
yeah, he's cooked.
Isaac, he got in the car and he goes, Saber, come on, come on, come on. I didn't even know someone got stabbed until way after we left. And Isaac was like, I think I stabbed that dude. I think I stabbed him. I was like, oh my God. Isaac was like, you literally ran away. Like, that's not what you should do. And I think we stopped at his friend's house because his friends lived shortly down the street. He was flipping out because he was like, you know, he was like, oh my God, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. Then he ended up falling asleep. So I had an alarm at 7 so I could try and wake up and get time to call someone and see if they were up at that time. And then at that time, that's when I hear pounding on our front door. And I walk out and Isaac's mom was like, Isaac needs to get out of here. There's a bunch of cops out here drawing their weapons. He's got to go out.
It's clear Sabra doesn't intend on cracking, so detectives decide it's time to put the pressure on Sabra and get her to confess.
You can't think of anything else that you forgot to tell us or didn't mention?
Not that I know of.
Okay. How well do you know Justin?
I know him not like really well. I just know that him and I were friends for a couple of years.
How long were you at the house talking to him today with Isaac?
Like 5 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes.
Only 5.
Hey, what's up, Roy? What's up, Tex?
As far as I know, like, I mean, I went in to pee, then we were out there for a little bit, and then we left.
I'm sure that somebody's already kind of explained things to you, right? So, mother to mother, you love your children, right?
Yes, very much.
Okay, and you want to see your kids again someday, right? Yeah. Because today, somebody's actions made it so a mother lost her son, a father lost his son, somebody lost their boyfriend, okay? Several friends lost another friend who bled out at the hands of someone that you care about, and you know something.
I don't.
You were there.
Yeah, but I didn't know he got stabbed. I didn't know that until after we left.
If you're trying to protect this man, you're gonna go down as an accomplice for murder.
I'm not, I promise.
You know something.
I got knocked down and I was on the floor or on the ground, and then I got up and I didn't see anyone on the floor. I didn't see anyone else on the floor. I swear. I'm not trying to protect him at all.
So what did he say after he stabbed him? Because you guys drove away together. He had to have said something.
He didn't. He really didn't. He said, I don't even think he said anything. He just got in the car. I got in the car. And then we left. And then shortly after that, he said that he stabbed someone.
I'm going to tell you that I talked to his parents, and they said that he's an explosive, angry, violent drunk.
He is. And he is. He's never been like aggressive to me. He gets aggressive and he punches back windshield. He does stupid things when he's drunk. I'll be the first to admit that.
Listen. He died. He's dead. He's gone.
I know, and that breaks my freak.
So your honesty today is imperative about what happened. Your honesty today is the paramount of what we need done. Okay? You're not telling us. You're hiding some stuff back because you're protecting it. All right, now listen to me. I spoke to your mother on the phone.
So did I.
You know he's violent against women, correct? He's been violent before against women, correct?
He was violent against your own mama.
Talking about Isaac.
Yes, he did push my mom.
He did what?
He pushed my mom.
Pushed your mom?
Because he went to court for it. She punched him first, and then he pushed her. So I will say that yes.
Homie said moose ankles. You guys are funny.
Like that.
You told me earlier that you would never do that to a woman, correct?
I totally forgot about my mom. I'm so sorry.
It's your mom. How can you forget about your mom? You're trying to protect him.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you right now that my specialty is domestic violence, sexual assault, and crimes against children. and the living conditions that your children are in are a crime. A deplorable, sickening crime. I'm 35 years old and I could barely breathe in that house. There's dog feces everywhere. The ammonia in that house is horrible. We've made a referral to have your children emergency room. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm gonna tell you, you know how I know you're full of shit? You went to your mom's, you went to Justin's, all before you went back to the house. I talked to your mom.
I did go to my mom's. I totally forgot. I am so sorry.
Are you forgetting because you were drunk? Or are you forgetting because you were high?
No.
She's forgetting because she doesn't want to tell us the truth. The only thing that I can have and that I can say about you right now is either she was lying when she's alive, or she was scared, but she finally told us the truth.
I was scared.
Okay. You knew that he threw the knives at Justin's house, correct?
Yes, and I apologize. I was scared.
Who had the gun at the party?
And I'm being honest to God, I didn't see a gun. I didn't know who had a gun. I know my brother has a gun registered in his name.
Did your brother have a gun?
I don't know. I didn't see one.
Okay. What did you see about the stabbing?
I didn't see, and I'm being completely truthful on everything. I didn't see anyone get stabbed. I didn't see anyone fall to the floor. I didn't see anything. This is when I think all of this stabbing happened when I was on the ground.
Well, is there anything else that you think that we should know about? Is there anything that you want the prosecutor to know? Because now's the time to make your case if you feel that you have one.
Like right now, an apology letter for lying to us.
Yeah, she's cooked.
Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Sabra is going to crack anytime soon. However, her lying is just as bad as Isaac's, so convincing her shouldn't be much of a challenge. Additionally, her cathartic behavior only strengthened the case against Isaac, as she revealed that they did in fact hide the knives at Justin's home, giving detectives another lie to confront Isaac with. So once and for all, using all the evidence they've collected for the last several days, detectives sit Isaac down for a final interrogation.
We're going to re-Mirandize you since we've had a break in between. Do you know what your Miranda rights are?
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to read them to you.
After reading Isaac his rights, he would recount everything that happened the night of the murder. We've heard his story multiple times now, so I'll fast forward through that portion of the interrogation.
That's what's up, bros.
So, I'm going to tell you, the only thing you have left in this world is your integrity. You know what integrity is? Yeah, your honesty. And I'm going to tell you that I have found about 40 loopholes already in your story. And I know the truth. I'm not going to ask you a question I already don't have the answer to. Okay, that would make me a horrible detective. Been here since 3:30 this morning. The last thing I want is your bullshit. Okay? I am giving you honesty and I'm giving you the opportunity to come clean. Okay? If I go to the prosecutor and say he gave me a line of crap, you know what they're going to do? They're going to throw the book at you come court time. If I go to the prosecutor and I say, hey, this is a guy who made mistakes, because we all make mistakes. We do it every single day. I'm not a perfect person. Dave's not a perfect person. We've done and seen some fucked up things, okay? What you did last night is fucked up. You killed somebody.
What?
He's dead.
And I died.
Yeah, he died at 8:31 this morning. The world lost a father. He leaves behind a 9.5-month-old son named Jet, okay? Somebody lost their son this morning. A mother and father lost their son. A girlfriend lost her boyfriend that she held compression on for several minutes waiting for a medic to get there to try and save his life. He died at Grant this morning and you're facing murder charges.
I didn't know that.
He did because you didn't stab him twice. You stabbed him multiple times. Way more than twice. And I've interviewed probably 15 or 16 people today that have painted a pretty gruesome picture involving you. This is your chance to be honest about it.
I was just trying to get them to stop.
You get one shot at this, and one shot only. I've talked to your mom. I know you are a very violent, explosive person. I know you drink almost every weekend. You left her in the care and custody of your 2 children, Draco and Waylon, who are 13 months and 4 months old. I've been inside your bedroom. I've been inside your car. I've had a very deep conversation with your girlfriend's mother, and everyone that was at that cabin. You get one shot at this with me, and that's it. You want to start over?
With this brilliant confrontation, the detective successfully convinced Isaac to start again with his story. Just like in Saber's interview, he already gave his version of events before this, so any mistakes he makes now will seal his fate.
Start at the very beginning. How did you end up there?
Ended up because Saber wanted to go, and I told her that I would go with him. And so we ended up going. But we've never got along, me and her brother. And of course, her brother's friends aren't gonna like me. If he
Yeah, he's going to prison forever, bro. He's
But
done.
he said that he was gonna be cool, calm, and collected. I said I would do the same. And I was until everything blew up. And once everything blows up, then I just blow up and I end up blacking out.
How much cocaine did you do last night?
I didn't do any.
I know there was cocaine there. I have
Yeah,
already
but-
found the cocaine.
I didn't do any.
Did you smoke weed?
No.
How much did you drink last night?
I think I drank a 12-pack of Miller. I took a couple shots of Hennessy and a bottle of green. It's like green sour apple schnapps. There was like a half bottle of that.
Okay. So you drank a lot of alcohol, knowing that you have an explosive personality when you're drunk. Okay. Was there some jealousy issues at this party last night?
Yeah, a little bit.
What happened?
Well, it's just her brother's friend. Well, her friend and her brother's friend, Trey. I've always not liked him because she sits there and says always like a brother, but then she got mad at me one time and said, "Oh, well, Trey's so hot, I'll just go f*** him." So that's where I don't really trust him anymore. And so when he came, that's kind of where I got jealous.
Okay. So Sabra is talking to Trey, right? Where are they together?
Oh, they're in a hot tub.
Okay. And she starts having a panic attack. Because why?
She thought I was gonna be mad.
If Saber had panic attacks just thinking that Isaac was going to be mad at her, one can question exactly how much abuse she dealt with to behave like this. Worse yet is the fact that Sabra still believed Isaac to be a saint, going as far as to cover up his murder.
So a scuffle ensues, and during this scuffle, Sabra tries to break it up, right? Okay. And what happens to Sabra as she's trying to break this up?
She says she got trampled.
Who comes to run to her aid?
I have no clue.
Okay. So, fair to say that you probably blacked out or there's bits and pieces missing here?
Yeah.
So Dalton comes running over because his sister's now on the ground and she has this tattoo that says my brother's keeper and they're close, right? And he is screaming at you guys to knock the shit off because his sister's now on the ground. And Sabra is having some type of panic attack, right? She goes to get in the car and she's screaming at you at this point, right? Do you remember this?
No.
Okay.
Is that when we start fighting down the hill?
Uh-huh. And what happens on that hill?
On the hill, that's where I got pushed down.
Do you have injuries that would corroborate you saying you got pushed down? The scrapes on your side?
Yeah, I got scrapes all over my side, and I have a big knot right here where I got hit.
Okay. So you get pushed down this hill, and then what?
Then I think we kept on going at it.
Who's we? Because we have about 20 or 22 people now that have been at this cabin.
I don't even know their names.
I saw the video. Somebody clearly shoved you in the front, which started the scuffle.
Yeah, that's about the only part I remember is getting pushed. And then kind of gone from there until I got in my car.
And when you get in your car, what happens?
She got scared that
That's
she
where I grabbed
caught
the knife.
the homeboy and they had a panic
On the door, I
attack.
think.
I'll tell you
That
that I
guy's
have a
crazier
footprint that
nowadays.
tells me they were.
You ain't never lied, Dragon.
Do you remember any of that? Okay, and where's Sabra?
She was still sitting in the car.
Did she get out of the car at any point?
I don't think so.
Is she paying attention to what you're doing there, or is she preoccupied with something?
I think she was watching TikToks on her phone.
Watching TikToks on her phone, knowing her boyfriend just stabbed somebody. It's pretty normal behavior, right? I mean, hey, you went home and took a nap. Like, it was just another day in the park for you.
I was too drunk. I didn't really remember when I got home.
But not too drunk to drive. Not too drunk to dispose of the murder weapon. Not too drunk to try and cover up your tracks. Did you know his name was Charlie? Yeah, you never met Charlie before that, did you? So, you grabbed Charlie by the neck, and you didn't stab Charlie 2 times. You stabbed Charlie 6 times. The side of his neck, right here on his face, twice in his side, once in his back, and somewhere in between his head and his neck. And you left. You left Charlie to lay there and bleed out on the ground. Charlie didn't die right away, but Charlie, he died. He coded out in a trauma bay. He made it in an airplane to a hospital in Columbus, made it through the surgery, and then he kaput. His heart gave out. And you know what? His kid isn't the only one left without a dad, because Draco and Waylon aren't going to have their dad either. They're not going to have their mom either. She went to jail today.
What's she did?
Complicity to murder. Because she knew and she didn't do anything about it. And I turned your kids over to the state earlier this afternoon because the living conditions in that house are deplorable as well. So they're not going to have a mother or a father. Does that change things for you?
Yeah.
Does that put some things into perspective? Bet you weren't thinking about that when you threw the knife. All right, Isaac, you're gonna stand up, put your hands behind your back. At this time, you're under arrest for murder.
At this point, Isaac has nothing more to say, and the body cam concludes shortly after. With so much evidence stacked against him and his girlfriend, the two were placed into custody as they awaited their trial. A year later, on August 26, 2024, Saber Flag pled guilty to obstructing justice. This is a 5th-degree felony that comes with a maximum of 12 months in prison and a $2,500 fine. As for Isaac Pence, he was convicted of 1 count of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 1 count of tampering with evidence. A month later, on September 25th, he was finally sentenced to 18 years to life in prison, where he will not see the light of day for a long, long time.
Bruh, that, oh my God, dude. That's crazy, man. Can't believe we made it through the whole video, bro.